Live.
Give me a.
Hello, everyone. I am Mike, and this is what happened? Where did he? He was there a minute ago. I swear. But anyway, I am your host, Mike Usnick, and I would like to say hi to everybody in the chat for stopping by, and of course, I'd like to say thank you to our guest, David Rattenbury, for joining us.
Hey, how's it going?
I've got an empty seat.
Yeah, I mean, he disappeared in the 40 seconds your thing was on because he was literally right there.
he had to take a phone call.
So I love the singing voice of your intro music guy.
That is, I forget which singer. I think it was their singer Jason. Psalms of Silence went through a lot of singers.
and you can't tell. No, man. You know what? I take that back. It's just, we should love all music, or not even love all music. There's music for everyone. I'm just out of touch. Out of touch.
When I first got into hard rock and metal, I wasn't into that style, but the more I got into it, I'm like, man, it's hard to sing like that.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Hey, everyone's saying hi to me. Hi, this is cool.
You have a fan base.
Yeah.
So
and it looks like all 10 of them are here.
I had a fan base, but the guy died.
Yeah. I always joke about I'm like if it's like a really obscure album or something. Yeah, I'm one of the guys who bought that album. I don't know where the other guy is, but I haven't spoken to him in a while. But yeah, we bought it.
Speaking of obscure albums, do you have the Stereotypes single? Because that's a very rare one.
I don't. I did look for it online. Or is this some sort of joke that there isn't a single and you have to buy the album? I was like,
no, there is a single. It's the most expensive punk rock single around. There's only 3 copies left.
Wow.
Because couple got broke.
I have a feeling I need to look up some. Hey, Lily, how you doing?
The Stereotypes just released their debut album 42 years after the release of that single.
I saw that, man. It's interesting. I've been having many a discussion with various friends of mine that because I've never really done the whole. I mean, I used to play professionally. I used to play just bars and clubs as like a jobbing guy. Basically, if you go to a bar, I'd be the guy in the corner playing Sweet Home Alabama and Fleetwood Mac and all the stuff you hear in every bar.
Yeah.
And there came a point where I just didn't want to do that anymore because it got to the point where if I had to play Mr. Brightside one more time, I just didn't enjoy it anymore, So I kind of crossed the fence and went into selling guitars and doing behind the scenes stuff. Ended up with getting involved. Well, I mean, I've known him for 16 years, but I ended up getting more professionally involved with this guy in Sweden who monopolized a lot of my time in the last couple of years. But yeah, so it's kind of one of those things. So because of this, me and a few of my friends have been talking about maybe it's time I actually go back, uncover the stuff I did when I was a teenager, and finally release something. So between me, Robbie Miller, who a couple of other friends, this is the year. There will be something from me this year.
And so there's
even if
no,
it's one song.
so there's no confusion. We were talking about Robbie Miller from Canada, but actually is English, not the Australian one.
No,
There
no,
is-
not no. See, I couldn't get the Australian Robbie Miller. He was, you know, he left me on red. He left me on red, and I must not be that important.
I was trying to get Robbie Miller to interview Robbie Miller, but
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I would come and co-host that with you. That'd be amazing.
can't afford to record. So you're telling us about how certain guitars got discontinued due to the pandemic. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah. So essentially, it's not so much that they got discontinued. It's just certain guitars get put on hold because, of course, with the whole pandemic situation, a lot of factories were shut.
Mhm.
And a lot of the reason that guitars are in shortage right now, I mean, a lot of people are saying, like, blaming the brands and criticizing the brands for not having the product available. But if you think about it, if you make anything in the world and then you shut your factory for 3 months, there's gonna be a gap somewhere.
Mhm.
You know, all that stuff you would have built in those 3 months doesn't exist, and they're doing a really good job of catching up. But there's just some guitars. So the example I was talking to you about wasn't discontinued; it was just pushed back. Gibson announced a USA version of the Epiphone Casino, and because that's made on the same machine as their 335, which is like a flagship model, they were like, well, that's kind of more important because that's one of the models that everyone wants, including me. We need to devote all our time we need to devote that machine to be helping us make those.
Mhm.
I mean, they are all pretty hand built. I'll tell you which machine it is. It's so if you know on a 335, you've got it's like curved. It's like two
Mhm.
pieces of wood curved with an edge. Well, the machine that makes that curved top and back is Daniela. I love it when Dave shows his hair. I'll a
Take
bit of
a,
that. Yeah. There you go, a bit of that. And
for
and
those
I'll
that
tell you,
don't know, Dave is actually a real life South Park character.
so essentially, yeah. So Gibson just needed to dedicate that machine to the pressing machine that presses out, that puts the curve in the wood
Mhm.
to making those things because they're pressed out the same. And yeah, as Anders is saying in the comments, this affects the used guitar market as well. Of course it does, because if you can't buy a Gibson 335 or a Mexican Fender Stratocaster in shops because they've run out, the people selling them secondhand can ask so much more for them.
Mhm.
So, you know, for example, I am actually looking for a 335 myself. Before the pandemic, you could get them for 1,500 to 2,000 secondhand. Now, the cheapest one I can find is like 2,200.
Dude, it's supply and demand.
Exactly. Anders is right, you know.
That's like I told you before we went on the air. I worked at a truck stop, and we was running out of certain types of cigarettes because certain factories was shut down that was making the foil that went in them. And
Yeah, and
like,
it's always the things you wouldn't think about. So like,
right,
they're like, oh yeah, we can't sell you. It was 100 packs, you said, yeah. So
100
like,
packs. Yeah.
yeah, so we can't do 100 packs anymore. And you're thinking, oh, why? Why is that? Why is that? And you would never think because the foil wrap that keeps it fresh is a
right.
bit, you know,
You think
it's
paper or something that's more important.
or you'd think it was something that was actually part of the cigarette.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't think it was you wouldn't think it was like the foil paper that just sits between the box and the cigarettes.
There's so much we don't think about that goes into making things.
I'm
Making
gonna
products.
I'm gonna tell you something about my hair, which you will find great. So it's kind of it's dyed again now. It's kind of getting back to normal. But a few weeks ago, so because I've been wearing the hat for like 18 months now,
Mhm.
pardon me, I kind of grew my hair, not long, but long for me. It kind of got to like here, and I would just press it all back. And I just decided one night, well, no, it was probably about here, probably came down to my eyebrows. And I used to just push it back and put the hat on. And I decided one night about 4 or 5 weeks ago that I wanted an undercut, so it was nice and comfortable around here,
Mhm.
you know. So I got some clippers. In fact, these very clippers right here, and I shaved the sides and back. And I walked into the living room, and my wife took one look at me and burst out laughing. And she said, and bear in mind, it was kind of like brown and gray. Frankly, it was brown and gray at the time, before I dyed it again. She said, "You look like a cheap Joe Exotic." So she took me back into the bathroom, and then she kind of tidied up the edges a bit. It's a bit of a mess now because I'm wearing the hat, but it looks kind of,
You should have kept it that way. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
But you need to buy some tigers.
Yeah, well, unlike Joe, I wouldn't buy an animal if I couldn't look after it, but that's another story.
Did you hear about he's trying to keep himself relevant now by asking for pardons every chance he gets?
I heard he hired a limo and it was waiting outside for him on Trump's last day, hoping he would be one of the outgoing pardons. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard about that.
If anybody would have pardoned him, it would have been Trump.
Yeah, but what's great about Trump though is what's great about that whole story is Trump doesn't give a shit. It's like I'm sat there thinking, Joe, did you honestly believe he cared about you? Did you honestly believe that you even crossed his mind that day? Trump thinks about one person, and that's Trump.
That's Trump.
Yeah.
The most recent thing
I have the best thoughts.
What I hate though is when people blame presidents and political figures for shit beyond their control. Like right now, people's complaining about the rise of gas. I get it. Gas prices rising sucks, but you tend to forget that there was a pandemic going on.
Oh, well, get ready for an Englishman's opinion on gas prices. Wow.
Well, that's like we had a guy by the name of Juice on here. He's also British. The whole time he was on here, he was impersonating the prime minister and
Boris. Yeah.
Well, how's come you guys, whenever you get a leader, it's the same leader we have, but British?
I did notice that. Although when you had Obama, we had a middle-aged white guy with a fake eye, so it kind of went off a bit then,
I think you guys were behind a little bit.
Yeah, well, it catches up, yeah. No, see, the thing about gas prices, which I find hilarious, is, I was in a department store in, actually, I won't say where because you'll take the piss, but I was in, it was Beverly Hills, right? I was in a department store in Beverly Hills, and there was this guy there talking to my wife. She was buying some Ugg boots or something like that, and he was asking us about England, and he was saying about how in LA it's so expensive to drive because you need a car for work to get to work and back, and he's telling about how expensive gas is, and we were like, okay, so I was talking about this with Vic about 6 months ago, so this is kind of the most recent view. A liter of our fuel, it basically worked out that to fill a tank costs me £60. Now, that is in dollars. That's about $80 to fill my tank.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, and it kind of works out like you're paying like less than half what we do, and the majority of ours is tax. Like the tax on petrol here is something crazy, like 60%.
That's insane.
It is, yeah, but it's been like that for years. I don't actually know what the actual figure is. I'll look it up in a bit. But yeah, the tax on petrol is petrol, cigarettes, and alcohol have very high taxes over here.
That makes me glad I only ride a motorcycle.
My mom in the chat said that her car only takes $18 to fill up.
Yeah. $18 would just kind of get me to the first notch past the E. You know what I mean?
It's funny though, now that I'm thinking about that, because every time we complain about our gas prices, people in Britain's like, them sons of bitches.
Yeah. I would if they dropped our gas prices to what yours are now, I would shut this computer down, take some jerry cans, and I would be down that garage now. You know what I mean? It did fall to like £1 a gallon recently.
Why do they call them pounds? Do they weigh a pound or?
Do you know? I don't know that. I actually don't know that. But but it wouldn't surprise me. They don't weigh a pound, obviously, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's kind of the origins of the word are in the same thing, you know.
Or if it means something else, because there's a lot of things in Britain that mean different shit than here.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean the meaning of pound here is very much the same, you know. I know what you mean though about the difference between words and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, some of them are kind of cool. The one I'll never understand is faucet, but judging by the I think by the structure of the word, it probably comes from French.
Sounds French.
Yeah.
That's like, I grew up listening to George Carlin, so I always question the English language.
Well, you're one of the few Americans that does, I'll tell you that.
It doesn't make sense. The English language is the hardest language to understand because like there's words that should rhyme that don't, and then there's the words that sound the same but they shouldn't. You know what I mean? Or there's the words that spelt the same, pronounced different. Then there's the ones that are spelt the same, pronounced the same, but two different words. Like,
yeah. So that's I believe that's a homonym when something is said the same.
Yeah.
Or is a homonym? Yes, because a synonym is something that means the same, and a homonym I think is something that sounds the same. I don't know. It's a long time since I went to school, so.
You're like, I don't know. I don't have the education for this. No, what's funny is when you type it, it doesn't make sense when you talk about certain things. Like I was telling a friend of mine, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go play the bass. They thought I was playing a fish. I didn't know.
Yeah, because it's BASS. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So lately I've been seeing online that you are moving, but you have this little setup in your living room.
Good spot. So that isn't in the living room. So basically, we're staying at my in-laws' house at the moment. So what we did was to make the whole process easier, we put all of our possessions in storage, and we moved in with my wife's parents just for a few weeks. It's been more than that now, but just while we kind of do the transition. And that was for my birthday. It was my birthday a few weeks ago, and I collect Lego. I would love to show you it all, but it's all in storage container somewhere. But yeah, that was my 32nd birthday present from my wife. It's a giant, and that's not even the whole thing. There's a big T-Rex that comes with it that's bigger than the gate.
That's crazy. And also, if you look, you notice you have it set up so you can still watch TV. You just got to look through it.
That is exactly. In fact, I think that photo is from my wife's Instagram because I know Kathy follows her. Yeah, and that was the point of the angle. She said, at least Dave set this up so I can still see the TV.
What would have been really awesome is if you were watching Star Wars at the time.
Kanak just pointed out it's a homophone when something sounds the same.
A homonym?
Yeah.
Homonym?
So two words that sound the same but are different are homophones.
Oh, I thought at first it said homonym and homophobes. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, homonym is the gay white rapper from Detroit.
my name is Homophone.
Oh, Renee, what Harry Potter Lego centerpiece have you got, Renee? Daniela, I could do stop motion movies, but they would take so long. I don't have that sort of time.
So I know we are both Star Wars fans, so you'd be proud of what me and Tony accomplished. We watched all of the movies, all the episodes in
all 6
3
of them?
days. In 3 days.
9 of them.
Nine of them. 1, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, it goes 1, 4, 5, 6, and then either 7, 9, or 7, 8, depending on if you want the story to fit together or not. So
we watched all the episodes. We still got to watch like the Solo story and all those.
Rogue One and all that.
But we watched one. We watched it in order. 1, 2, not release order, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I like
me and my wife did in January. We did Empire, then Jedi, and then we went back to 1, got back to A New Hope, and then she went, "Got to carry on now, though, really, haven't we?" So we did Empire and Jedi again.
Well, what's crazy is that those movies are great, but the plot twist, the best plot twist in cinema history, is a spoiler. Everybody knows that Vader is Luke's father. Everyone.
I will always remember whenever anyone talks about that plot twist and people finding out, is the bit in The Simpsons where Homer and Marge are like, they haven't had Bart yet, and they're coming out of the cinema, and he goes, "I'd never have guessed that Vader was Luke's father," and everyone in the crowd just goes mental, and everyone in the queue goes mental.
What drives me nuts? I'm gonna rant a little bit about Star Wars right now, a little bit.
Oh, here we go.
Is this what we're doing?
Yeah, let's rant about Star Wars a little bit. Okay. I think the best thing that could have happened in the newest trilogy that came out is if in Rise of Skywalker, Rey goes and sees that freaking throne, turns around and it's, "I've been here this whole time," and it's Jar Jar Binks, but as a Sith Lord.
It certainly couldn't have been worse. No, do you know what? To be fair, the 8-year-old kid that still lives in my head, absolutely loved Rise of Skywalker. I went to see it on opening night. We got the midnight tickets. A bunch of us from work went, and basically, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was lots of space people fighting with lightsabers, and Emperor Palpatine was there. Zombie Emperor Palpatine. That's like a cross of two of the things I love the most. And
AKA Pappy Dubstep.
Yeah, Pappy Dubstep. Yeah, I love it. So yeah, but then the further I've gotten away from it, and I watched it again, like when it came out on home. Well, not DVD anymore. Who does DVDs? But when
did you go to Blockbuster to get it?
No, Alaska's a pretty long way.
No, they shut them all down.
Yeah, no, I know, but there was one in Alaska for like 5 or 6 years after Blockbuster disappeared because they're so remote they can't get streaming. I think it has closed now though. But
there's one in Oregon still. That's the only one still open.
That's the only one. Yeah. Wow.
But anyway, continue with your Pappy Dubstep story.
Oh yeah, so basically, but the further away from it I've kind of gone, actually, there's a lot wrong with that film in the sense that, like, if Palpatine lived anyway, then Vader's whole sacrifice at the end of Jedi means nothing. Like, Vader turned on his master and, like, basically ensured his own death as well to save Luke. And it's like, oh yeah, but 20 years later, Darth, he's still going anyway. So, you know, you didn't need to have done that.
If I'm not mistaken, though, there was a comic book back then that covered that he survived.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was. That was, and can of worms time, man. That was Dark Empire. That was in 92, 93-ish. And yeah, the idea with that is it's kind of the same. Some of the cloning cylinders, and of course, this was before the prequels came out, so the clones weren't the clones that we know now. They didn't really go into what the clones were, but he'd kept some of the cloning cylinders that he took from the Clone Masters, who were the opponents in the Jedi Clone Master Clone Wars, and kept them in his personal archive, which is in a mountain called Mount Tantis on, I forget, Wayland, on a planet called Wayland. You started this, Mike. I'm in. I'm like,
let's do this.
What's harder to believe, that Palpatine survived or that Boba Fett survived?
See, again, now to use my own argument against me, the Boba Fett thing, they brought him back in the expanded universe very early on. So we've had a long time to get used to the idea that he could survive. So I think that's why Boba Fett surviving has felt easier to stomach, is because people have always kind of known that he survived in a spin-off somehow. Whereas Palpatine was like, oh, apart from that one spin-off where it turned out he was a clone anyway, like, do you know what I mean? It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, if Darth Maul can survive, Palpatine can survive.
I mean,
Jackie, sorry to cut you off, man. But Jackie Cowell, we're talking about Blockbuster. She just said, I love going to rent movies. And we were talking about this the other night. I think this is a great discussion as well. Think about all the things that younger people and kids will never experience.
Renting a movie or a video game.
But not only renting that, think about the whole thing. So, I mean, the concept of renting still exists. You go on Sky Store, you buy a film for 2 nights, and at the end of your 48 hours, it would this is it. At the end of your 48 hours, it expires. So the concept of renting is still around. But yeah, as Renee said, you go to a video store. It wasn't just a film. You would go to the candy area and like put some popcorn on your order. But the thing that I really brought up was, do you remember when each store would have a set amount of copies? And if you got there and it was rented out, you'd have to join a waiting list. And then as those copies got returned, when your name came up, it would be your turn. So if a film came out in like May and it was like a really popular one, like Star Wars, unless you got there on the day the thing opened, you might not be renting that until like June, July.
I was watching.
I did that with Blade.
I was watching a documentary that covered this, and if you get a chance, watch it. It's called The Last Blockbuster. They actually went through what caused Blockbuster and all these businesses to go out of business, and it wasn't streaming. Plot twist: it was not streaming. What happened with Blockbuster was let's go back in time before VHS tapes were readily available. You had to go to a movie theater and pay $99 for a VHS tape from the movie theater. So
like long before me, yeah.
Yeah. So mom and pop places would buy like Star Wars and shit from the movie theater and then rent them out, but they could only get so many copies because it was so expensive. Then Blockbuster came around and popped a deal with the theater companies, because the theaters tried suing and said that the companies are within their rights to rent. So Blockbuster came around and said, hey, we pay only $6 for this movie, but you get like 40% of the profit. So they're like, yeah, sure. So Blockbuster had unlimited copies and ran mom and pops out of business, because they would go to like cities and be like, hey, we're going to build a Blockbuster next door. If you don't went out of business, become a Blockbuster, still run it like a mom and pop shop, and get like 60% of the profit. So they did dirty business like that. Well, in 2002, a guy came knocking on their door and said, hey, I have this idea. We're going to stream movies. Would Blockbuster like to buy the idea for $40 million? And they're like, what's it called? And they're like, Netflix. And they're like, get the hell out of here. So they kicked the guy out of the office, and Netflix ended up coming out to be this big thing.
Well, yeah, but what was really interesting, and I'm sure you're old enough to remember this, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Up until like very recently, like the last 5 years or so, Netflix, you would still actually go online, choose what you wanted to rent, and they would mail a DVD to your house.
Yeah. Well, what is
I saw that with Nick. Betamax tapes.
Well, what is hilarious about the whole story, and it's kind of sad, is Blockbuster was actually getting ready to make their own streaming service and do what Netflix is doing to try to compete. But you might remember the 2008 stock market crash.
Oh, yeah.
That Blockbuster had to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy because they couldn't afford to start a streaming service, and they took themselves out of business.
Yeah.
How bad would you be shooting yourself in the ass if you're like, hey, I could have bought Netflix when we still had money?
Yeah, but then at the same time, it's easy to say that in hindsight. At the time, Netflix was shopped to them. Netflix was a mail order DVD service.
What
the hell is that?
That's your new puppy, right?
Oh, look at that!
I'm trying to help you puppy shop. I heard that you need to get a puppy.
Yeah, my wife wants a puppy. She really wants a puppy.
Well, here's one. I think.
Oh, look at that!
I got one. I think this one might be related to Ryan. I'm not sure.
Oh, amazing! Just put a hat on it. Just put a hat on it and a Les Paul. It's amazing. Actually, it looked a bit more with the long hair. You know, I don't. I don't know who that is. David Coverdale, maybe.
I think it's Lexi Fox of Steel Panther.
With the hair over one eye. Yeah, very good. Very good. Oh,
But
man.
do you want to continue ranting and raving about Star Wars? I think I like this conversation. Here's one that one of my
No, you go for it, but let's not get to the point where everyone tunes out because we're just being three angry nerds.
You could just call us Brian Posehn.
That doesn't mean anything to me.
But yeah, Star Wars that drives me nuts is, I guess, now Disney.
Has Kathy just raided my wife's Instagram? Is that what this is?
Yeah, she's back there. She's back there popping up pictures from
Because I
her
don't
wife.
post anything.
I tried going through your Instagram, and all I got, I know you're proud of this photo, so we are going to talk about it. Trent Reznor.
Oh, dude, yeah, that was a great show.
That's a great. I've never seen 9 Inch Nails yet. How was it?
Well, I've seen them a few times. That one was cool. I can't remember who they were touring with. Basically, what happened there was that's the only time I've ever done concert photography, like proper concert photography. I've done like a couple of local bands just because I had a camera with me. But the 9 Inch Nails one, my friend was running. It was when I lived in Nottingham, England, and my friend was running like a local interest blog, and she kind of got in touch with this person who could get like photo passes and journalist passes to things. And she was like, "Oh, if there's anything you want to do, I'll get you a ticket, but you've got to write me a review." And I was like, "Okay." So I said, "Oh, I love this band 9 Inch Nails," and she would be like, and she was like, "Yeah, that's fine. I don't really know anything about them, but as long as you actually write the piece afterwards, I'll get you a ticket." And I just thought, yeah, I'll give it a try, and I did, and they actually gave me a photo pass. So I just got down there with a camera, and I must have shot like 100 photos, and about 5 of them came out really well. That's what photography is like. Even the best photographers will tell you, you don't see all the ones that didn't make it.
I've been friends with photographers. I've dated a photographer, and I've seen them take like over 300 photos, and only 4 of them they really used. like damn. So
it's always the way, though. It's always the way. I remember I've got, so normally in the room you used to see me in when I'd go online, there was black and white photographs on the wall. Well, I took all of those. And there's one of the Palace Theater in downtown Los Angeles, and there was literally about 100 different.
It froze.
It froze. I think we lost you, Ratt. Hold on, buddy. Let me get ready and bring you back on. This happens when you go live. You there, buddy? You froze, Ratt. Hey, Kath, you want to try?
It's worse now. It's all black.
Messaging him. I'm just sending him a message.
Okay. I'm going to remove him from the stream and tell him to just come back on.
Okay.
Accidents happen. This happens all the time.
That's good. It's all good.
I went ahead and kicked him. Just tell him to come back on.
Yeah, I've told him he's frozen. He'll be back. Oh my God, I got a cat now. No, don't stand on the keyboard.
Well, I thought it was just us because he froze once before, and I noticed the whole screen froze.
Oh, really?
But this time, I'm like, it's him.
We've lost him. He's not online at the moment. He'll be back.
But while we are paused right now, we do have coming on the show on the 5th, we have AC Slade of the Murder Dolls, Dope, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and of course the owner of Catfight Coffee.
Have you ordered some yet?
I'm going to order some probably today.
Does he ship to UK?
I don't know. He might. It might cost a little bit more.
Can't cost as much as shipping Jaffa cakes.
How much did that cost, just out of curiosity?
What, one 50 pence packet of Jaffa cakes?
Yeah.
About £12 something.
Oh, damn.
And that's my mum.
and on April 12th, we have Lynn Ruth Miller. Have you seen Lynn Ruth Miller's comedy?
I haven't, no, but we could be related because my maiden name, I was saying it to Robbie the other day, my maiden name is actually Miller. So the scary fact is I could be related to Robbie, but I'm probably related to her because I look more like her. No, Suzanne said she played at the Peel Sessions, which is a place that she's going to start doing gigs at come May. They do kind of acoustic shows. And she said she was on there, but I haven't seen her, but I'm looking forward to her.
She was on Britain's Got Talent.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah,
See,
when
she's watching Zombies, I missed it.
When she sent me an email, I'm not joking, the email did say, "Hi, I'm Lynn Ruth Miller, and I was told that this would be a good podcast for me to be on. I am the oldest touring stand-up comedian because anybody older than me can't stand up." And I just started laughing.
Fair enough.
I'm impressed, though. At 71 years old, she started stand-up comedy.
She just started? Wow.
No, she started about 10 years ago. She's 87 now.
What?
Yeah, she's about 87, I think she said.
Holy crap.
And she's hilarious.
Wow, I'm looking forward to seeing her. Oh, I've just tried to call Dave and he has gone online. He didn't answer, so I'm hoping he's trying to log himself back in.
It's good. This happens. That's why we
Yeah.
I don't worry that much anymore. What happens. It's live.
Absolutely.
Here's an actual photo of him right now trying to get back on.
The way he's looking at that phone, I don't think there was anyone who was more obsessed with staring at their phone than me, but clearly he is.
I just thought, at first I thought he was staring at the milkshake.
Nah, he's hiding the phone. What's he up to?
That's great. So if anybody wants to follow Dave, you can go ahead and follow him on Instagram at Davey Rocks, or you can visit his website at davidratt.com and see what he's up to nowadays. We'll find out if he comes back on. We might be nerds and bitch about Star Wars a little bit more.
No more Star Wars. Like I said, the last one I saw was bloody Empire Strikes Back. I've only ever seen the original ones. I have no idea who these people are you're talking about.
Hey, Kath.
So old.
if you come out and visit us, we are having a Star Wars marathon.
Only if on the next night we can have a Walking Dead marathon.
Sure.
I'm okay with that as long as we can watch Negan.
You'll have to take a couple hits off my vape pen, and then we'll watch Star Wars.
Okay. I'll bring some absinthe. Oh, hello. Dave's back. Dave's back. Yay!
Look who joined.
Yay!
Kathy.
Right,
Kathy. Okay, bye, Kath. Accidents happen, bro. It just froze on us, I guess.
No, I tell you exactly what happened. The wireless router for the whole house just turned itself off.
Oh, damn. You're a little laggy still, but it should work itself out.
Yeah, it's just come back online, so I should be fine.
So what were you saying before we were rudely interrupted by technology?
Rudely interrupted by Skynet. I think maybe we were about to uncover some great truth about the universe, and it cut in. So yeah, that was my "can't hear you, bro" moment for the show.
This is how the elites censor us.
If you Google the answer to life, the universe, and everything, it just pops up the number 43.
This is how the Hollywood elites.
42.
42. Okay, I'm ahead of the curve. 43.
Yeah. Oh, so you kind of found no new information. Hey, Anders, how's it going? I can't remember what we were talking about now. We've kind of lost the train, but
according to Kath, we've talked too much about Star Wars, so no much nerdy shit is what she said.
Oh, so Kanak saying, "Do not use my internet."
Kanak's internet's bad, man.
Yeah. Wow.
I had him on here one time, and I think that guy lives on the toilet because it always looks like he's on the toilet. So hey, we actually have another guest stopping by. You might know this guy. He's from Australia. No, wait, he's from Canada. Yeah, that's where he's from. We've got the Robbie Miller.
Hello, Robbie.
He's a little. How you doing, brother?
How's it going, everyone? Good to see you, Mike. Tony, I don't think we've ever met, but nice to see you. I don't know if Kath and Ash are somewhere, but good to see you guys. Dave, I was about to crack a joke. Like, it seems like I've only spoke to you about a minute ago, but that'd be more the truth than an actual
Yeah,
joke.
we do have a permanent chat going.
Because like I will be on my phone in my living room and my wife will come in and she'll be like, Dave, and I'm like, yeah, Dave, and she'll be like, okay.
So
Yeah.
what's going on in Robbie's world? We've been talking with Dave for a little bit. Let's see what you've been up to.
Well, I'm in Canada, and it's finally becoming, well, I feel like we're very close to spring. There's still snow in my back garden, but I can finally go for runs again and not slip. So that's quite nice. It's about 13 degrees today, or a little bit higher, maybe.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's going for runs? Explain this to me.
What's going for? You had me for a second. I'm like, did I say something wrong, or like, is he doing a bit or something?
But when he said the runs, I thought he meant something else. I'm like, somebody's been having too much Taco Bell for lunch.
Well, yeah.
I've been trying to get Robbie on here, but he's like, I'll only come on if somebody else is on. So we're finally like,
do you know what? I mean, it's good to be on here, but I also bounce off really well with Dave, and we tend to we speak all the time and run ideas past each other. And yeah, it's good. So it's good to be on with Dave. It's also good to be on with you guys. And also, I also want to say, I was just listening to the new Stereotypes album this morning, and I just want to say a really, really big well done to Ash for that. It's really, really great. So everyone should go check that out as well.
The Stereotype still has the most expensive record with their debut, with their first single.
Should they have called it Chinese Democracy?
The new album, yes.
Now, you should have called it Chinese Democracy, because you probably could have released it before.
Except for the Stereotypes record was actually good.
No, do you know what? It's a great album. Chinese Democracy is a great album.
Chinese Democracy is the best Axl Rose solo album I've ever heard.
Come on.
I kind of feel like both. It is a great album, but it's an Axl and the Roses album. But you know, well, you know.
No, I think Chinese Democracy, honestly, I think there was no winning with that album, because I think if it had come out and sounded like Appetite for Destruction, everyone would have just been like, oh, it just sounds like Appetite for Destruction without the guys. And if it came out sounding like nothing like anything GNR had ever done, which is what did happen, really, everyone just was like, well, it doesn't sound like Guns N' Roses. It's like there was no way to win, I feel, in Axl's situation. And I really like that album. I think there's some great tracks on it.
I think it's good. I mean, and the thing about it being an Axl solo album is it meant we got Bumblefoot on guitar, Richard Fortus on guitar.
Was Richard Fortus on the album? Did he actually track the album?
I think he did.
All right, okay.
He was definitely.
Didn't Buckethead make it on the album too?
Oh yeah,
Buckethead definitely plays part.
Not very good. It's not very good.
Yeah.
Buckethead is the only man that can release 100 albums in like an hour.
Have you looked at his Wikipedia page? Have you seen how many albums that guy's released?
Yeah, he released like 400 in 1 year.
Yeah.
What I love about this comment is, Feddy, if you skip it every time it's in your music player, why haven't you deleted it from your music player?
Everybody has that album.
Yeah, but interestingly, we were talking about earlier about like time and the way things change and whatnot. Now, we all of us here remember when Chinese Democracy was a running joke. Like, oh yeah, that'll never happen. Like, oh yeah, that'll happen when Chinese Democracy happens and all that.
That'll happen when Tool's new album comes out.
This is it. Well, Tool's a good point, because Tool took longer. So Chinese Democracy was announced in '94 and came out in 2008. Mm-hmm. So what's that? 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
2008 was 13 years ago. So it's nearly as long since it came out as it was. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I do.
An album that never comes out is actually been out for a long time now, like a really long time now.
I can't.
Good.
Sorry. I can't remember what Offspring album it was, but they were about to I think it was Splinter. It was one of the the later ones.
They were going to call it. Yeah.
They were going to call it Chinese Democracy, You Snooze, You Lose.
Yeah, that's right.
Metallica had a pretty good stint of time between Death Magnetic and the new one, didn't they?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it was
08 to
I thought Death Magnetic was a great album as well. I think
it was.
I thought the mix was a bit off, but it was a good album.
Death Magnetic was better.
Tony, you're the second person that I've heard say that. And now that makes me wonder. I obviously have no idea what I'm talking about because I thought it was great sounding.
When you listen to it, it sounds like everybody was just like, all right, fuck it. We're just going to push everything to the front.
It has got a lot of the loudness compression on it.
Well, was it Death Magnetic or was it? No, it was definitely that album because I remember it coming out and I remember listening to it and thinking, man, this is awesome. And then I heard that the mixing engineer got blamed because the kick drum was distorting all over the whole album, and then the mixing engineer was blaming the guy that mastered the album, and they just went back and forth, and then everyone was unhappy, and it was just. Meanwhile, I was thinking it was great.
I love Death Magnetic because it wasn't Saint Anger.
And that's another album that I feel like I should really revisit because I think I jumped on the bandwagon with that one and was just like, it sounds terrible. But was it good? Was it for the right time? Was it meant to sound terrible? I know that sounds really. I know. No. I know that sounds. No, I mean like, for example, someone I was talking to mentioned that the Slipknot album where after Paul Gray died, the bass player,
the Gray chapter.
Yeah.
Apparently they undermixed the bass on that album on purpose.
They And Justice that album.
They what?
They did an And Justice on that album.
Yeah, And Justice for All.
Yeah, well, because it's got no bass. But I think apparently they really did undermix it for because it was like almost in a tribute to being like, we can't fill these shoes right now, but we need to release this record. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, but at least, on the other Metallica albums, you can't tell that the drum's not in time. But on Saint Anger, you can tell.
Has anyone watched that documentary?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. Yeah, is it good?
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You see Lars and James have a temper tantrum
throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
I just saw clips. I just remember seeing clips of like Lars in his like dressing gown or bathrobe, just like in the middle of a studio having an argument.
So is he like being Ric Flair?
Maybe.
So I watched this one documentary. I don't know if it was that one or not, but it was Lars and James was standing there with Kirk, and they were listening to a tribute band that was in like this, like it looked like a storage building, and they're standing there, and James goes and checks them out, and then he comes back, and he's like, hey, Lars, go check them out. And they're really good. And Lars disappeared. And James looked at Kirk and was like, that's the first time I've heard our music in time.
Wow. Hey, here's something for you.
They were going to kick Lars out of the band until Cliff died.
I went and saw a band in Oregon. I just moved to America. We were staying with some family, and there was a tribute band night, and I looked at the lineup, and get this, right? It was, first of all, it was a band called Oakley Dokley. Have you guys heard of this band?
Yes.
It's Oakley Dokley. They're all dressed as Ned Flanders, and it's like screamo. So I was like, okay, that's my $15 alone. I'm quite happy with that. But then they had this other band who were supporting them, and I kind of felt it should have been the other way around, because this other band have been around for like 20 years prior to Oakley Dokley, but they were called Beatallica. Have you guys heard of Beatallica?
Oh yes, they're a
Ring a bell.
Beatles Metallica.
Yes, I have heard of them.
Yeah, and instead of Hey Jude, they have Hey Dude, and Blackened the USSR, and all of these amazing songs. And I couldn't believe it, because I used to like listen to that band, and then they were playing just down the road from where we were staying, and it was Oakley. It was actually three bands. It was one called Black Drag, which were a Black Flag tribute band.
But they all dressed as women. Yeah.
and then it was Beatallica, and then it was Oakley Dokley.
Have you ever heard of Macaulay Culkin's band called the Pizza Underground?
Yes.
And they do Velvet Underground songs.
Yes, that's right.
But they change all the lyrics to be about fast food.
Have you
That's
ever?
right.
Speaking of that, have you heard of Mac Sabbath?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Great band.
What was great about the Macaulay Culkin's band, they played a show in Nottingham and he actually got bottled off the stage.
Yeah, I think I heard that story too, because they were meant to come to my hometown at Esquire's afterwards, and I think the tour ended, as far as I'm aware. I'm not. I can't remember.
Probably still not the worst tour we've done, eh?
Hey, Dave, I've got a question for Dave, if that's all right, man of the hour. You're a guitarist, Dave. What would you rather? Would you rather play a terrible guitar, and I'm talking like an ironing board?
I know the answer. I think we've discussed this.
An ironing board with like terrible rusty strings, hammered in with a nail.
Yeah.
And you get to play that for the rest of your life. Or would you rather play a handmade boutique 10 grand guitar? It'll be the best thing you've ever played, but you get an hour on it and that's it. And you can never, ever play guitar ever again.
I mean, are we literally saying like an ironing board with strings, or can we make it a bit like realistic, like a Squire Affinity Strat or something like that?
But there's nothing, but there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with Squire Affinity Strats because a bunch of guitars are good now.
No, but I know they're good, but you have to like we have to actually like find a point,
a middle ground. Okay.
Yeah.
Just play on one of those old shitty Sears Roebuck guitars.
Yeah. In which case, I would rather have a guitar that worked, but was shit, like a catalog guitar, and keep that for the rest of my life than get to play. I mean, I've played quite a few cool guitars. I've played a 59 Les Paul. I played one of the named ones. One of the ones that's like, if you see in magazines, there's a guitar called The Beast, which is owned by a guy called Bernie Marsden.
Yeah.
That's 59 Les Paul. I've played that. The Flying V that Gibson have just reissued, the blue one of Hendrix. They've made like X amount of copies of it, limited edition. I've played the original.
Wow.
But badly, I must say, because it's left-handed. And I actually have a photo. I don't know that I actually have it accessible here now, but I have a photo of me in the basement of the Hard Rock Cafe in London with that Flying V. And I'm wearing, the white sunglasses that Kurt Cobain wore in those photos.
Yeah.
I'm wearing them. He had a really small head. It was really tight. But yeah, I've got that photo somewhere. I saw it recently. But I don't have my hard drive plugged into the laptop, so I can't look it up.
Now everybody knows that Kurt Cobain had a small head.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
I'm updating Wikipedia as we speak.
Well, to be fair, it's not like they could tell afterwards, is it?
So, since we do have Robbie here, we actually do have a little trivia that we were going to do if you want to join in on it. Kathy has all the answers. I don't want to pop up the questions because then Tony will know the answers. So, Kath, if you want to be in charge of the questions.
Really? I sent them to you.
Yeah, but I
found it.
Oh, he's got it. Go on, let's have a look.
So there you go. So there is.
Hold on.
There is Hendrix's Blue Flying V, and me wearing. I can't get the focus on it. Posh camera and all that, But yeah, so that's me at the age of 18 with the original Hendrix guitar and Kurt Cobain's white sunglasses.
Wow! Oh, there you go.
You can send me that photo if you want, and I can pop it up.
That had to be a religious experience playing on his guitar,
wearing Kurt Cobain's glasses. Well, he said that he messed up the song, so it'd be realistic.
Well,
but let's do some trivia. Do you have the questions?
By the way, before we get started on this topic, there's been a lot of comments that will we do another Cribia? Will we do another Cribia? The short-term answer is no, and I think I'm right in saying that, Robbie.
We all signed a contract.
Yeah. So did Motley Crue.
We've put up this contract
Motley Crue ones.
More than the Crew.
However, and I mentioned this earlier, like in passing, but I think with Robbie here, he can confirm or deny this. No pressure, Robbie. We have decided.
Oh boy.
When the restrictions are over, if Robbie comes back to England, we are going to try, and it is try because we don't know what our schedules will be like then, and get the three of us in one room to do Cribia with the three of us.
Oh, hell yeah.
And to make it happen, we've opened a PayPal. I personally quite like to fly business class, but I will take economy. It's no problem. And then I'll fly over.
Oh, that would be so cool, though.
So Caribbean's
would
done.
be
You
cool.
got to change the name.
Thing.
I'm going to get there, though. I'll get there. My mum will be like, when you coming over? I'm like, I'm too busy, mum. I've got to do music Caribbean.
I've got to go and do a YouTube video.
I haven't seen my family in 2 years, but that's okay because I'm going to do Caribbean.
Why don't we do it at your mum's house?
We should. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have her
Yeah,
be part of it.
everyone just come over. It's totally cool. She'll be cool about it.
I bet she makes hot coffee as well.
To be fair,
Listen.
though, Robbie, to be fair, we did that exact same thing to your sister in 2019.
That's right. Yeah.
We all just ended up at your sister's house. For
we
like
just
4
handed
days.
the eviction notice and we just crashed. That's right.
There was me, Robbie, Roxy,
a dog. There was a dog
Rob Lane,
around.
the dog. Yeah,
the dog.
the dog.
Yeah.
Obviously, your sister and Rick.
Yeah.
Who else was in there? Rob Lane was in there.
Sean was there.
Sean was there. Yeah, and we all just kind of descended on her house for a few days.
Yeah, it was great. What about this trivia game? What's going on?
Yeah, go on.
Oh, I'm sorry, Robbie. I'm sorry. You know.
I mean, it's just such a fascinating story.
Hey, Robbie, you're Canadian now. You have to be more polite than this.
Sure am, buddy.
Sorry.
I practice my Canadian accent all the time, by the way.
A boot.
Yeah, it's a funny one. Yeah, I love it though.
Is it weird being in Canada and having your accent in Canada? Like, do you get looks?
No, because basically I used to live in New Hampshire, and I don't know if anyone knows this, but New Hampshire isn't exactly the international hub of the world. And they're not very used to accents in New Hampshire. So on a daily basis, more than, you might experience if you were in LA or, New York, something like that, it would be people be like, where are you from? Whereabouts Australia are you from? Whereabouts in New Zealand are you from?
I always get Australia when I'm in California.
It was this all the time on a daily basis. And then I remember once I went into a, us three would call it a petrol station, but I went into a gas station, and I went in and I put my zip code in. Sometimes you have to do this extra security thing. You got to put a zip code in before you can get the gas on the machine or whatever. So I did that and it wasn't working. So eventually I had to go inside to like prepay for the gas and then go back and fill out. And I went there and the lady was like, I said, yeah, I put in my zip code. She was like, I said, it's not working. She was like, oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, I can do that.
I'm really glad this is more fascinating than my story, by the way.
Well, it definitely is. She said, whereabouts are you from? And I said, I'm from England. And I didn't really think it was much of a problem, like, because I got, asked that on a daily basis. And she said, oh, that's why your zip code isn't working on the machine. And I was like, no, I live here and it's not working.
Yeah, I'm not putting in my English postcode.
So to answer your question, I live in the capital of Canada, and there's plenty of Brits here. There's plenty of all kinds of accents here. So it's not as New Hampshire-ish.
Since you mentioned Australia, me and Dave was talking about a guest for you on Can't Afford to Record. You need to get the Australian Robbie Miller on Can't Afford to Record.
Yeah, I do. I actually DM'd, because you tagged us in a thing, and I actually DM'd him and said, look, do you want to do this? Do you want to do something? And he was like, yeah, whenever you're ready. And I was like, yeah, I think the world needs this. And then he just left me on red and never got back to me. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry.
Try it again, because the Ratt wants to be part of that.
Yeah.
The problem is, I'm just gonna sit and watch.
The wonderful thing about the Australian Robbie Miller is he, first of all, is really good at songwriting. and he's really, really handsome. So if people ever accidentally find him when they're trying to find me, it's not really a bad thing because he's kind of a heartthrob, that guy.
So they're going to message you, be like, "You write great music."
Yeah. Wow, we really want to interview you, please. Yeah, no problem. But let's do it with the cameras off.
But Kath, you got the questions ready?
Go on then, Kathy.
I got questions. Anyone want a question?
All right.
Okay. I don't know how you want to do it. Now there's everybody here. Everyone can just take a guess, and we'll do a point for right answer. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well then, shall we confirm when we've got the answer, and then you kind of go to each one of us one at a time.
And then whoever gets it right gets a point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds fair. Okay. I just dropped my pen. Ash, can you get my pen?
Are you keeping track of the points, or who's keeping track of the points?
Well,
And-
I thought
and
you were
who-
doing the quiz and I was keeping track of the points, but I'll do both.
And whoever
I'm a
wins,
woman. I can multitask.
You're already doing better than Music Trivia if you're keeping track of the points.
Yeah, you guys are whose line is it anyway?
So who's playing? Is it Robbie versus Dave? Robbie versus Dave versus Tony?
Yeah.
It's all of us. It's all four of us because I don't know the answers either. I just copied. and
Everyone's
pasted.
welcome.
I don't
Cool.
even know the
Okay.
questions, so.
Yeah.
Right. Number one.
oh boy,
What was the most? These are all facts from the Guinness Book of Records. What was the most number of guitar strings changed in 1 hour?
it was by me. I
You're
went to
right.
the guitar shop, and it
This
was
is multiple choice, so you're going to be okay here.
Okay, multiple.
Right. 153, 226, or 97.
Can I have a follow-up question? Are these sets or are they individual strings? Does
Yeah.
it say?
Individual
You're asking a
strings.
guitar question to me.
Individual strings, one person.
Seriously?
I mean,
I think it's individual.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
we used to do a
I'm
thing.
going with the highest.
I'm
You're
going to
going
go.
with the highest.
I'm going to go with 153.
97.
I'm gonna go with 153.
I do 153 in my sleep.
And the correct answer was 226. 1 point to Robbie.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
Thomas Silkman at the Flint Hills Music Emporium in Kansas on April 20th, 2018.
Hate
He
that
needs to
guy.
practice more. Or actually, no, he needs to do the next Planet X tour, doesn't he, Robbie?
Yep, that'd be great.
Now, does it say that it was done right?
No, I don't know.
And also, were they lock-in tuners? Because then all you've got to do is put it through the hole and snip it. So, yeah.
Yeah, Kath, have we got? Can we?
Yeah.
Can we validate or confirm this?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about guitars, Robbie.
Hello, is
All
this
done on
Guinness? Is this
Floyd.
Guinness? We need some more, you know.
They were
I
all
only know
done on
about
Floyd.
Jaffa cakes. That's my expert area.
They were all done on Floyd's.
That's not very different to my expert area, to be honest. But, yeah.
What's
What's the next question?
Question 2.
Hmm.
What is the most number of guitar rotations around the body? They didn't give a time on this, so I don't know. But
The most amount? I'm going to
Mhm.
go with something like 20.
okay, you have a choice of 28,
Cool.
35, and 17.
I'm going to
28.
go for 35. I'm going to go for 35 because you said there was no time limit. And I just think someone would just keep
Mhm.
doing it until they got, you know.
Okay, 28,
28,
35.
28.
35.
17.
You say 17, Tony?
Mm-hmm.
And we have a point for Mike, and we have a point for Dave. It's 35.
Wow.
It was Adam Hudson in North Carolina, April 28th, 2018.
Cool.
There you go. Next
Man,
one.
people get bored quickly. They're like, was this during quarantine?
We're about to break it live on air, you guys.
This is actually before quarantine.
Okay,
Jesus.
so Robbie, the first one to stop, yeah?
Okay,
Come on,
yeah.
Come on, let's see it.
hey, Robbie, have we got matching guitars again today?
So Kanak says that the changing of strings was done on a Floyd Rose bridge.
Yeah, that would be funny.
Yeah, he would have said pure bullshit.
Okay, ready?
Okay.
What is the longest duration for balancing a guitar on your forehead?
On my forehead? I've never done it.
Seriously, this is a world record in the Guinness Book of Records.
So,
Is
no,
it?
Kath, on
let
my
me just
forehead?
work it out. Let me just work it out.
Come on, let's give it a try.
No, not with that one.
Is it
Well has to have the
45?
second.
Right, 45 minutes, 75 minutes, or 35 minutes?
I've got to go 35.
75.
Oh, he wins.
45.
45.
Robbie's right. 75
Come on,
minutes,
man. It's the Guinness World of Records. Are you serious?
4.23 seconds. It was someone called Steve Rawlings in Oxfordshire in September 2015.
Has he just got like a permanent dent in his head from where the strap?
Well, he has now.
He did it with a custom shop Les Paul.
Like,
Did it with like one of the, a BC Rich headstock or something like that.
Right, we're going to follow that up with, what is the longest duration for balancing a guitar on your chin? Is
I
it
don't know,
48
3 days or something.
minutes, 60 minutes, or 29 minutes?
What was the-
60.
I'm
What was
going
the-
29 again.
what was the first one?
29.
You
I'll do
got
60.
29, 48, or 60?
I'll do
60
60.
Actually, I'm
if you
going
want
to
to
go
win.
48. I'm going to go 48.
60. It was 60. And it was the son of Steve Rawlings who balanced the guitar on his forehead in Oxfordshire.
His
in
dad must be
2020.
proud. It's a family affair.
Is the next one the nose?
No.
It's a traveling carnival.
Right, the next one is, what is the speed in BPM of the fastest ever guitar playing recorded?
Ying v.
Oh,
Malmsteen.
I remember this. No, it was I remember this.
Ooh.
I don't remember the speed though. It's literally like, and that's it. But they actually slowed it down and picked out all the notes.
Really?
I think it's Flight of the Bumblebee is the actual.
It was Rimsky-Korsakov. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember the time.
What's the multiple choice?
Okay, you have 540 BPM,
Yeah.
620 BPM, or
Yeah.
430 BPM.
I'm going to say 430.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
430.
The first one.
First one, 620.
Mm-hmm.
Correct, Tony.
Wow.
I actually taught that guy.
620. John Taylor from Colorado, but not that John Taylor, because he plays bass.
Wow.
Right. Here's one for you guys. What is the longest ever guitar lesson that was given?
It was Saturday,
Robbie just did it
and
last
was,
night.
Every Sunday.
Was it 18 hours, 24 hours, or 12 hours?
12.
Well, I'm going to say 24, and I have a follow-up reason. So
Okay.
there you go.
Dave?
24. I'm going to go with Robbie's answer.
Right, Mike's going
Yeah, I'm
24.
going to go with 24 as well.
Tony?
12.
Come
24
on,
it
Tony.
was. It was 24. A guy called Thomas Binns in the UK and London in 2019. What's the
24
follow-up,
hours.
Robbie?
A follow-up is in 2015, I believe, I did a 24-hour guitar lesson for charity, and I invited 24 students to come. It started at midday and it ended, obviously, midday the following day. And I actually contacted Guinness Book of Records, and the paperwork, I was more doing it for charity and seeing how much money I could raise, but the paperwork and the hoops involved, I just was nothing I could really take on. But I did 24 individual lessons, all people booked 3 a.m. and I raised like £600 or £700, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
so what
nice
you're saying
work.
is, so you did 24-hour-long lessons, whereas
Yes.
Kathy, are you talking about one 24-hour lesson?
I'm assuming it's a continuous lesson because it said the longest guitar lesson, singular.
Wow.
So I hope they learned something.
You did. I
never-
learned something in that time.
Either that or it was really slow. Like,
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I
this
need.
is an E.
Yeah, see, that would be
Three.
perfect. That would be
Yeah.
perfect. I could learn if someone did that for me.
4.
Yeah.
It's like
2.
I did the system 12. I did
Yeah.
the system 12 and I slowed it down. It just looks like he's drunk. So was it like that? Here's the guitar.
Maybe they were both drunk.
I mean, maybe he was. Maybe Ryan is drunk in
With
System
vodka
12.
o'clock.
And they just spat him up.
So, Robbie, what you were just saying, Guinness World Records, it's not easy to do because I'm trying to get Ash to contact them for the longest time between first ever EP and first ever
Nice.
album. But
Yeah.
I've registered him, but he's looking into it. He's going, it looks like there's a whole lot of.
There's a lot of hoops, and I believe if you like really, I think you have to pay for it. Like I think there is like a. They don't just be like, yeah, like let's put you in the book. Like we're gonna send someone out. Like there's a whole fee involved, and like I presume that's to wean the people that are just messing around out.
My sister was in the Guinness Book of Records a couple of years ago.
For what?
What's the punchline? Come on.
No, for real.
Really?
Not by name, but basically, my mum and my sister know this woman who makes like balloon sculptures, and my mum's she was a maths teacher, and she still is kind of involved in the maths sort of subculture. They go to meetups and stuff, and there's this woman who makes balloon sculptures, and together they worked out they were making like pyramid shapes out of balloons, and then they extrapolated that what are they called, tessellation, and they kept making these structures until they'd made the biggest like tessellated mathematically worked out balloon structure or something like that cool. And they got a certificate and they got a copy of the book each, and I've got it somewhere in storage, but yeah, it mentions the woman by name who came up with it all, the balloon making woman, and then and her group, and my sister and my mum were part of that group, so there is an entry in the book, and they
that is cool.
The book actually says balloon making lady and other people.
It does, yeah. They didn't ask her name; they just said balloon making lady and other people.
But that's all it says.
Right, listen, I've got a whole bunch of questions, but at the moment somebody is 1 point in the lead. So that person, if they get the next one right, will win.
Perfect.
Or everybody else is on 2 points. So it could be a 4-way tie. All comes down to this one.
Okay.
How much was the most expensive guitar that was sold at auction? Why is Dave looking smug? Do
you want a rundown of the last 4 and when they were sold and for how much?
Okay, this one was June 2020.
Yeah, I know which one it was.
Okay. Was it sold for 4 million,
no.
6 million, or 3.5 million?
It was actually none of the above. It was 3.9 because it was.
Was it David Gilmour's?
It was David Gilmour's Black Strat.
And that's not what I've got from the Guinness Book of Records.
Oh, and no, something. I beg your pardon. Something recently beat it.
June 2020. Very recent.
Oh.
It's 4 million, 3.5 million, or 6
I know
million.
which one. No, I know which one it is. I'm going to go with. What was the third option?
4, 3.5, or 6.
6.
6.
Okay.
I'm also going to say.
I know which one it is.
I'm also going to say 6.
We have a winner. Right. The answer was 6.01000. And it was.
And was it?
And it's right here, you guys.
Let me
Here's one I bought earlier.
Was it the Martin acoustic that Kurt Cobain played in MTV Unplugged, and it was bought by the boss from Rode Microphones in Australia?
Yeah. Oh, now should he get a bonus point for that?
I feel like if we're playing trivia rules, then
the one before that was Dave Gilmour's Black Strat. I think that was 2019, or it might even been early 2020.
Does this guy know how to party or what?
Well, we got to be going now.
Okay, so before I disappear and leave you boys to it,
okay,
the winner with 4 points, everyone else is tied on 3, is drumroll, Robbie!
Yeah.
Nice one, cuz.
Nice one. Yes, of course. Me and Kath realized we're related.
I think by default, Dave should win because he knew the full details of the last one.
I think I mean, I don't know if it counts that you get points for answers to the actual question.
Yeah. No one
answered other questions. I don't know if that counts.
I love how Kath
turned
was
into a complete diva because he's a special guest.
I mean, Caribbean's really changed.
Well, I really love how Kath was like, there's a tie between two people and this could end it. And Dave's over there giving the full detailed answer before anybody else.
Just 6 million. That's what it is.
Everybody else is like, yeah, it's 6.
I just want to say something. Before I sort of go and celebrate my winning and leave. But I just want to say, guys, congratulations for getting AC Slade on in a few weeks. That's going to be a really, really great show. And I met AC once when I was 13 years old. It was in 2003. He was doing a guitar clinic, and I took my guitar up to him and I said, AC, will you sign this? He said, of course. And he wrote rock like.
Yeah.
And then my heart sank because I just looked at him and went, my dad's gonna hate this. And he was just like, that's awesome, that's great, good for you. He was like so happy for me, and I was like, thanks. I told him that. And
what did he think of the story?
I told him it, and he was just like, yeah, I think he said that he stole that. I don't know if he stole autographs with that, but he stole it from Michael Monroe. Not stole it, but he got it from Michael Monroe. I think that was the thing I learned from it. So, but he's great. Yeah.
Have you checked out Lynn Ruth Miller yet? She's another guest we have coming up. She's hilarious.
I'll check her out. Yeah.
She's probably related to us too, Robbie.
We're all about.
She's the oldest touring stand-up comedian. She's 87.
Wow.
Yeah, she started at like 71. She started a little late in life.
Hey, it's never too late, man.
But
we can all be picking up new stuff. I started learning French last year on Duolingo. Really? Yeah. And I think it's great to always pick up new stuff and try new hobbies and everything. That's what.
Doesn't some people out in Canada speak French anyway? So that'd be good for you to learn.
Yeah.
That's I think that's very much where it came from, Mike.
actually, spot on there, Mike. Yeah. So Ottawa is quite bilingual, and we're only a bridge from Quebec, So it's there's French-speaking people here, it's English-speaking people here as well. It's really wonderful. So yeah, I think that's awesome. I'd love to tune in for that and hear more about her story.
Yeah, you'll have to. Well, you have to come for AC, and you have to come for Lynn as well. And I've got other people planned, but
all right.
So, Robbie, anything you want to promote while you're here?
I'm going to disappear, guys. I'm going to leave you boys to talk.
Love you, Kath. Take good care.
See you later. Thanks.
Yeah, I am. Well, I have my little YouTube channel called Can't Afford to Record, which is, again, like coming back to the whole learning thing. It's like when lockdown jumped in for everyone, I was like, okay, I need to really get stuck into something. And so I decided to like go deep on audio engineering and production and mixing, which I've always been interested in. Dave did the intro for me on that. So yeah, it's that's what I'm enjoying doing. And I have a lot of fun with it. I'm trying to actually take a little bit more of a break recently on social media and not have too much of a screen time.
That's such an LA thing to say. That is,
he's so hipster. He's like, I'm gonna like not do social media.
No,
so am I, Robbie, but I just don't say it.
You just don't do it. Yeah.
So, are you able to afford to record now, or are you still unable to afford to record?
No, I cannot afford to record. Yeah.
So, do you have a real?
It's a true story. Yes, I do. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of expensive to rent around here. So
my question is, I know we've mentioned this before in the past, but not on here. You have a skateboard. Do you actually like skateboard with cranberry juice while listening to Fleetwood Mac?
Is that what it is? I had no idea. That was
Have you seen that guy on TikTok? He's on a skateboard listening to Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, I haven't.
But I haven't seen his video, but I saw Mick Fleetwood recreate the video in his back garden in Hawaii. Like, for real. Mick Fleetwood actually redid the video with a drink in his hand, like this. Like, it's really funny. And fair play to him.
I imagine Robbie doing that in his free time. Just skateboarding while listening to Fleetwood Mac, drink cranberry juice.
I mean, I'm not going to deny it. So. Guys, I'm going to love you and leave you, but thanks for having me on. I really
thanks
appreciate
for coming
it.
on, man.
Hey,
Dave,
Robert,
you
remind me of half the women I've dated. You're going to love me and then leave me.
Except, unlike them, I'll always love you.
Oh,
So.
you warmed my heart and everything else. It was
Yeah.
nice talking to you, Robin.
Good to see
Thanks
you
for
guys.
coming on, man.
No worries, Tony. Great to meet you as well. I'll catch up with you soon, okay? Have
See
a
you,
good one.
buddy.
See you guys. Bye.
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 Who the hell was that?
Some guy. Some guy. No, that was cool, man. That was cool. So, before, go on. What were you saying?
We do have Robbie kind of started easing into questions. We do have questions from people because you do have people that know about you. We do have people that know about you.
And
Yeah,
I have one question before we start, though.
All right.
What else have you pillaged from my Instagram or from my wife's Instagram? I'm curious. Oh, look at that.
Definitely not your search history.
Yeah, we didn't go through your search history.
Well, I have incognito anyway, so.
but I think that's all we pillaged from your wife's Instagram.
Cool.
I know you're like, oh, I was wondering some dirt, but no.
Oh no, I know. Yeah, I know. I know. So questions. I can't believe I have questions. People actually care. Who am I? It's a crazy world we live in when some random dude is just being like, yeah, there's people like asking questions. It's like, okay.
I'm still surprised that people like, not because I'm not cocky in any way,
Right.
but I'm surprised people still watch this show with all the other podcasts. Like, seriously.
No, I know. I just the sentiment. I'm surprised people still watch this show. You know?
Yeah, like I'm surprised.
That should be your tagline. That should be your tagline. But no,
I'm
you are
surprised I
right.
still watch the show after the Fruit Loops.
We're not going to talk about that because Dave has a great future ahead of him. We ain't got a future, but he has a.
Yeah, I'll ask you about that privately afterwards. But yeah, what were we talking about? Oh, here we go. Oh, wow. Wow.
Okay. What's the weirdest customer that you've ever had in the guitar shop? When we had a shop, a customer said, I can stand on one leg, and then he promptly fell over. Ashley Grant of the Stereotypes wants to know.
Okay, so professionality means there will be no names, and general politeness means I won't mention like long-running weird customers who, if they ever see this, and the one that immediately springs to mind is this guy, and I actually think there's a chance he might have seen this come up on Facebook and be watching. And he's a lovely guy. He's just funny. He's just a bit strange. But do you know the weirdest one I ever had? The one I actually said to him. This is the only one I actually turned to and went, I'm going to be honest. I'm struggling to deal with this because I've literally never been asked this. We had a guy come in, and this wasn't long ago. This was only about 6 months ago. And he says, I'm learning to play the guitar, but I've got fat fingers. Common question. So I thought, I know what's coming next. Which guitars are wider here? Because, of course, the width of the guitar here dictates how wide that's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then how wide that's going to be dictates the spread of the strings. So on a Fender guitar, this is a bit shorter, which means the strings are close together, things like that. So I'm kind of formulating in my head my stock answer, which is going to be, oh, well, if you go for something like Gibson style or Epiphone, if you're on a budget, that's going to be wider at the top, means the strings are more spaced out, means you'll find it easier with your big fingers. So then he says, what he really wants is he wants a guitar that he wants to buy a 7-string, take all of the strings off, and then only put 6 of them back on. And I'm like, you can do that, but where the strings are is dictated by there. He says, oh, but we can just recut this. And he's right, this is nylon. So you can just put a new one of these on and then cut 6 slots in it, spaced further out. And then I said, but the thing is the bridge is a solid piece of metal. You can't respace that. And so your strings are kind of going to be like this. Mm-hmm. They're all going to be leaning towards one side like that. And he starts off down this road. At one point, we were looking at 12-string guitars. I said, look, the only thing you can do like that is buy a 12-string guitar and then only put 6 of the strings on, you know. And this goes on, I swear to you, for like half an hour. And all the time I wanted to say to him, you told me you're learning. Why don't you just practice? If you're finding it hard, if you're finding it difficult to play the chords, what you've talked about is buying an expensive guitar to horrifically modify it, and you will need a bridge that doesn't currently exist. You'll have to actually machine one of those or hire someone to machine that out. When the easiest way around this is to just stick at it for another 6 to 12 months, and this will all be in the past. And he was an old guy. He was a very old guy. He's like, oh, I haven't got time now. You know, I haven't got long left in me, but he's like, oh, I'm too old to spend years on this. I need to be playing now. And I'm like, right, but exactly, Naomi, exactly. It's like, so what you're saying is, I mean, every other person in the world, every other person I've ever met has managed to find a guitar that fits their hands. You know, I like Gibsons because of the shape of the neck, because I have kind of fat hands. But this one guy, and I literally, at one point, I actually went over to my colleague and says, I'm gonna pass this guy off onto you because I can't deal with it anymore.
What did he end up getting?
He didn't, believe it or not. Believe it or not, he didn't buy anything. Which
All that for nothing?
And my colleague came back to me a little while later and was like, I didn't believe you when you said that. And, you know, but wow, just wow. And we get that sort of thing all the time. My boss had one. A guy came into the store to test out tuning pedals, as in the tuner that actually tunes your guitar. He went in our room where we take you to try out guitars, brought his own guitar with him because that was important to try out a tuner. And he sat there for 45 minutes A-Bing tuners. And I just want to make it clear to you that I'm saying tuners, as in the thing that makes your guitar in tune that the audience doesn't even hear before you start playing.
Yeah.
And my boss walked in and said, I've been doing this for 42 years. I have never seen anyone spend this long A-Bing tuning pedals. Right?
Well,
And it's like, where do these people come from? You know, and they're always the strangest. They're always the strangest. Like, some of the requests you'd get, you would literally go, do you know what? That's just not a thing. That's not even a thing. You know, like, I don't know where you're getting this from, but you know.
Well, that one guy that you're talking about that wanted the spaced out more, does he think that he's going to be magically amazing at guitar just because he has the right guitar?
He was looking for a shortcut. He says, oh, you know, I need spaced out strings, got fat fingers. I said, yeah. And then what was great is one of the other guys who worked with us, Conrad, he's a former strongman. He used to compete in, like, you know, there's like those TV tournaments where they'd like carry big weights and all that, and like roll tires and all that sort of stuff. He used to compete in those. And he was literally like 7 feet tall, like mohawk. He looked like Zangief from Street Fighter, like massive guy. And his hands are like his hand would be like that on mine. And he played a Fender Strat, and he said the same. He says, mate, no one's hands are bigger than mine. I just have to practice. You know, like there comes a point where you get smoother. The more you do something, you get smoother. And another one was a guy who, same sort of thing, who was buying a Strat, and he wanted to play like Prince, and he wanted to know how to play the Prince sound. And funnily enough, the same colleague that I passed this guy on to came to me. He says, look, Dave, I know, he says, look, I know you're kind of busy with your own sales, but this guy keeps talking about Prince, and I think I could close a deal if I play a Prince song, but I don't know any. Could you come over and do some? So I went over and I did like the Purple Rain solo, just the I haven't got an amp. Starts off with that and ends with the and I showed him that bit. I showed him it 4 times. On the way out the door, he hasn't made a decision about the guitar yet, so he left a deposit on it, and he went away. And on the way out the door, he's like, "Could you write that down for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's literally just that's it. It's 3 things. What 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. You know." And I'm just like, okay, I will write it down for you, but I don't see how that's going to help you remember 3 notes, literally 3 notes. And so I did. I wasn't rude to him. I said, yeah, if you sure, okay, I don't think it'll help, but I'll do it for you. So I sat there with a bit of paper, I drew out the tab lines, did this little tab, gave it to him. He comes back a week later, asked me to show him it again. and he's asking me and my colleague what pedals he would need to get that Prince sound, and we showed him a flanger pedal, and we plugged the flanger in, and I did the main bit,
Mhm.
that opening bit, and he's like, "Oh my god, that sounds just like it." And then I played the solo through a bit of fuzz, and he was like, "That's the sound I want," and he's asking us about all these effects and whatnot, and I'm thinking, I hate to say this, man, but the only way you're ever going to play like that or play those parts is to go home and learn them.
Mm-hmm.
You can have all the effects in the world you want. You can have the right guitar. You can have the right effects pedals. You can have the right amplifier. But nothing is going to be a shortcut to just going home and studying the song. And it's like Roxy's a great example, because I've worked with Ryan for a while now. We've done quite a few things together. And he's so down to earth when it comes to gear. He likes gear. Don't get me wrong. He can appreciate a nice guitar. He can appreciate a nice amp and all that. But when we did the Los Angeles tour, he literally had a pedal board amp with a tuner and one delay pedal. And he just got his sound like that. And he's like, as long as I practice the parts, I can get close enough. So you don't need the exact flanger pedal that Prince had. Just use the tone knob on your guitar, put a little bit of reverb on the amp, and you're going to get like close enough that the audience recognizes it. Yeah. The main part is you need to be practicing that Prince riff. But this guy he just kept, it was almost as if every time he asked me, he would learn it a bit better. I'm like, I've literally told you, I've done everything but move your fingers. The only thing you can do now is go home and do it. And we get it all the time. So I'd say they are the strangest customers.
So he wanted to have everything to make the sound, but he didn't even know how to play the damn song.
Exactly. and he was still so early in his learning that song was going to be out of his reach for a little while. And it's those people who come in and think that if I buy this thing, I will be like them. It's like, well, no, I mean, a common one I'd say is, we had T-Rex on, and a guy went, "That's the amp I'm looking for. I want to sound like this T-Rex song." And he pointed at the stereo. And I says, "Right, well, the first thing you're going to need is Mark Bolan's hands." And he went, "Oh, well, obviously I haven't got those." I went, "Right, so you're already starting from a nothing. Just get a good guitar, get a good amp that sounds close enough, and then just learn the Mark Bolan riffs. And then you'll be able to play the T-Rex songs. Then you'll get that sound."
Right? Like you got to have the talent.
There's no shortcut. No, it's not talent. It's not talent, because anyone can practice. Anyone can learn it. But you just have to... and Naomi's right. He needed guitar lessons, not pedals. Yeah, confidence boost could be a thing, but there's a difference. Like the way he was talking about it, he wasn't looking for reassurance, Anders. He was looking for he was looking for a shortcut. He was like, well, if I get this pedal, will I sound like that? It's like, no, the pedal just adjusts the sound. It doesn't make the sound. You still have to put the right sound into it to do it.
Yes, exactly.
I kind of went off on one there. So what else have we got?
You're good. The next question is from somebody we haven't seen in a long time. She has a question for you. Let's see if we can bring it up.
Hi, Dave. Welcome back to Pink Cell. Good to have you here. I was going to ask a really important and intellectual question, and I will. Biscuits! What biscuits do you prefer? Do you like a custard cream? Do you like a bourbon cream? Or are you a bit more out there and go for a jam sandwich cream? Can I also point out that jam sandwich creams are way better than jammy dodgers, which are too hard and they don't have cream in them, so therefore they're off the list. So if you look at that there you will see a nice steaming hot beverage, tea or coffee, not iced. So the question also is, do you dunk? There we are then, that's your question. What biscuit do you prefer, and do you like to dunk?
Where have all my bloody biscuits gone?
Better go and put the biscuits back. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Wow. Now she has opened. You could tell you a whole podcast series on biscuits when you're asking British people. Well, so biscuit wise, of the options you gave me there, it would be custard creams. I don't tend to eat biscuits often, but when I do, I hate to be that guy, but I've gone across the pond. It's Oreos. They're like crack, they're absolutely like crack. But of the options, of the sort of more British, biscuits, classic biscuits, custard creams, chocolate digestive. Chocolate digestive is a good one. Now, the dunk question. I am slightly disappointed, Kathy, because she should know better. I don't drink hot drinks. What do I drink? What do I drink? Anyone in the comments? Someone even brought it up during Nick Seslar even brought it up during our seminar on Saturday when he noticed that the label was different.
Coke.
I drink Coke. I drink caffeine-free Coke. Yeah.
Do you dunk into your Coke?
No, I don't dunk. I do very occasionally drink tea. If someone said if I was going out for a hot drink, if you said to me, Dave, let's go to Starbucks and hang out, I'd come with you. I would probably have a tea in that instance.
You are the first British person I know that says I don't drink tea that often.
Yeah, I literally drink tea. So like the only time I can remember drinking tea recently was we have a tea machine at work, and see, Diet Coke. Everyone knows. See, I was one of the few people that thought it was amazing that Donald Trump had a Diet Coke button. I'd be like, I was all over that. And did you hear about this? Apparently, so there's some buttons on the president's desk, and he can assign them to mean different things. And Donald Trump had one of them assigned that every time he pressed it, a butler would appear with a Diet Coke can.
Kind of worthless with all those cheeseburgers he ate.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. I would do that if I was the president. I'd be like Diet Coke button, but must be caffeine free.
I heard that George W. Bush had a Coke button, but that was for
apparently. To be fair to Donald Trump, which is not a phrase I will say very often, he wasn't the first to have the "Bring me a drink" button. I think Kennedy had the same button, but it wasn't Coke. It was a different drink he liked. But where we were going about tea, yeah. So the last time I remember drinking tea is we have like a tea vending machine at work, and there's see Nick, yeah, I was drinking Pepsi caffeine free the other day.
You traitor.
I know. Well, I'm trying to get one of those Britney Spears, Beyonce, Pepsi adverts. I'm trying to get a sponsorship deal. So
I'm trying to get a sponsorship deal with Jaffa Cakes, but that's a British thing.
Interesting fact time. Because there's this whole thing as to whether Jaffa Cake is a biscuit or a cake.
We did that last week. Yes.
Did you do it? So did you actually look up the actual definition for what is the difference between a biscuit and a cake?
Yes, and what is crazy is Jaffa Cake actually had to go to court to declare themselves a cake, not a biscuit, and it was a huge court proceeding.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys have such little problems that you're worried about what is a cake and a biscuit.
It's a good problem to have. No, so we have this machine at work, and there was this one colleague of mine, Nick, lovely guy. He would always offer me a cup, and I would always say no. And then a couple of times it was really cold in the winter. I was like, yeah, go on, Nick, get me a cup of tea. And I was only drinking it because it was warm, and it was something warm to have. I very rarely would choose tea.
So did you see why Jaffa Cake is considered, why they wanted to be considered a cake and not a biscuit? There's actually a reason.
Because it's in their name?
No. Britain started doing a tax law on biscuits that have chocolate on them.
Right.
And
so if they were a biscuit, they would,
they'd have to pay this tax. And the U.S. government was considering them a biscuit, even though Jaffa Cake is in their name. So they had to go and this huge lawsuit. Like it was, I don't know.
That's the difference between British people and Americans. Yeah. British people are worried about what's a cake and what's a biscuit. We're just worried about what Taco Bell's putting in a Dorito.
So
my wife likes Jaffa Cakes. My wife really likes Jaffa Cakes. And I remember a few years ago, every Christmas time they do this in England, they sell a yard of Jaffa Cakes. And it's literally like 3 packs stuck together in a giant tube like that. But it's one box. Like they're packaged separately inside the box, but it is like literally a stick of Jaffa Cakes. And they sell them around holidays here for like when you're buying treats for holiday gifts.
Yeah, I tried Jaffa cakes for the first time last week, and they were delicious.
Wow.
But I was told to not try any different flavors, only the original.
I didn't know there was different flavors. I only know the original.
Yeah, limited time only offers they've done. Like I think they did raspberry, but I was told it's
Yeah, see,
disgusting.
Naomi knows. Naomi knows.
So the next two questions is from our friends over at the Voice It Show.
Oh, cool.
The first one is Funky.
Hey Dave, it's Funky. My question for you is, if you could meet any idols of yours that you haven't met already, dead or alive, who would that be? Bye.
That is a great question. That is a great question. And I'm so glad she said dead or alive, because so idol's an interesting word. Idol kind of assumes some sort of worship. I'm not really that sort of guy, because even if I really like, so for example, I met the Edge's guitar tech at the NAMM show, and we were talking, and I said to him, I said, being a guitar nerd, I would rather you showed me U2's guitars than I met U2, because although I love their art, I love their music. So for example, Bono is probably the one I would want to meet now. But I don't know Bono. I don't know anything about what Bono's like. We might not get on. We might not have anything in common, in which case, why do we ever need to meet each other?
Never
Just 'cause
meet
I like
your heroes, they claim.
That kind of happened to me once, but he had a reason, so it's no problem. But living wise, the only I've kind of met everyone who I really idolized as a teenager anyway. You know, I mean, when I was 15, 16, 17, my favorite band was Alice Cooper. I've met Alice now. He does a great Mick Jagger impression.
And Keith, I've seen him do a Keith impersonation.
I saw that the other day. Yeah. You know, I've met astronauts. I've met most of the Doctor Who's. I've managed to meet a lot of people in my life, and I feel like there isn't anyone left now that I would need to. That I feel like, wow, I really want to meet them. There's lots I'd like to meet that I think, oh, they'd kind of be interesting, but there's none that are on my tick list, if you were. Now, if we're going for dead, then that opens up a whole new ball game. I think I'd like to have met Prince, just to see if he was as strange as everyone says he was. I've met a lot of people that knew Prince and heard a lot of stories about Prince, but obviously I never met him. You know,
Prince has been known to randomly pop up in places whenever he was alive.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. I knew a guy who did security for him once. I haven't met Kanak yet. Kanak's right. I haven't met him yet. So he would be on my list. He would be on my list. I definitely want to meet Kanak. And actually, all kidding aside, me and Robbie did talk about that recently. If we had like all of the money in the world, we would fly around and meet all of these people we've gotten to know over the last year online, just to kind of like meet them, you know.
So you could donate on the GoFundMe account.
Yeah. So so I don't know. I think I'd like to meet Barack Obama, just because I think he'd be an interesting conversation. I know one. I would love to have a cup of tea with Queen Elizabeth, and just literally just sit with a cup of tea in the garden, just having a chat, like nothing fancy, you know.
I've heard that Queen Elizabeth prefers alcohol over tea, so you might be.
She can have mine. She can have mine. I don't have to drink. She can do what she wants.
Just boozing it up in the garden.
I was watching this comedian the other day. They're like, I wonder if Queen Elizabeth is like a nice drunk, or if she comes out of her bedroom like, "Hey, give me! I got a fucking crown." And shit.
I look like the money.
I look like the money, yeah. Like the money. I think if she did ever get that drunk, which I can't imagine her doing at her age, but if she ever did, I think she'd be more like that chilled drunk who would be kind of sat there in the corner, just like watch what everyone else is doing and going, you know what I mean? Just like I'm not doing all that. You just let
not
me.
Belligerent drunk.
Yeah, I think she'd be that one that's just like in the corner, just like, you know, in her own little world, just like you do what you want to do. I'm happy where I am. You know.
They always say that like people are never happy with where they're at in life. They want to achieve more.
Mhm.
What the hell do you think the queen wants to achieve more? She's like already a queen.
Well, it's interesting though. Yeah, I suppose from a meritocracy point of view, everyone always wants to advance, and I think that is quite a big problem with our society. Like, we need to normalize people being fine with where they are, because I think a lot of the time, I wonder how much of it is it that people aren't happy with where they are, or is it that people feel like they shouldn't be happy?
Right.
So like, does everyone want that big promotion because they actually want that promotion, or do they just think that everyone else is judging them for still being where they are?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I worked with a guy in a supermarket. It's called Asda, but they're owned by Walmart. It's actually very like Target. It's very like Target. When I go to Target in America, it's very similar. And I worked with a guy there, and he'd been there like 30 years when I was 18. He's still there now. He's
Damn.
still there now. And we said to him, and he still does the same job. He just fills shelves.
If he's happy.
Yeah, and we said to him, we said, why have you never been promoted even to supervisor? You know, and he says, I don't want to. Like, this is my routine. I come to work, I know what I'm doing, I go home, I do my home stuff. And he was genuinely that's just the way I want to live my life. And he was actually one of the happiest people I knew. And don't take me wrong, I think that you should always be the best you can be, but not at the point where you're doing it just to kind of keep up with everyone else, you know.
That's an interesting.
Exactly. Don't, you know, if you're doing it because you want to do it and it will fulfill you, you go as high as you want. You become Elon Musk or President Obama or whatever. But if you're content and happy in your life, don't do it just for the perceived glory.
This reminds me of a book I read. Ever read the book The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson or Mason?
I actually started listening to it as an audiobook.
It's really good.
Yeah.
There's a part of that book where they cover this, where they're like, there was a musician by the name of Pete Best. He played drums for the Beatles.
With the Beatles, yeah.
And he got fired from the band. He never really amounted to much after that. He became a family man. But when interviewed, he said being fired from the Beatles is the greatest thing that ever happened to him because he met his wife and he's very happy. And then they went on to talk about another musician who got fired from the biggest band in history, but formed his own band, sold 30 million copies of all of his albums, and still to this day is not happy and doesn't feel like he's achieved enough. And that was Dave Mustaine of Megadeth.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because Dave Mustaine is still going on about being fired from Metallica nearly 40 years later.
And I'm like, dude, you have Megadeth.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point. That's kind of the point. You know, it's like I often think that a lot of people are just trying to keep up, and I totally agree. So the thing with the Pete Best, if he hadn't been fired from the Beatles, he's right, he wouldn't have met his wife, which means they wouldn't have had his kids. And the thing is, success is relative, you know, and this is something I think every musician needs to be told. Everyone who works in any arts capacity, success is relative, right? So to some people, success is being on the cover of Rolling Stone, winning a Grammy and stuff like that. To some people, success is just being able to do guitar as a full-time job.
Just doing what you love.
Yeah. So, for example, when I was playing professionally, the biggest audience I played to was like 200-300 people. But, and Brian Roxy uses this quote a lot when I take him to clinics and he gives clinics. Sometimes I might be playing shitty little nightclubs. Sometimes I might be giving guitar lessons. But every year when I fill in my tax return, I put professional guitarist as my job. And that's the thing, you know, success is what success means to you. If your goal in life is to be able to put on your tax return professional musician, that could mean anything. You could teach. Robbie's a professional musician. Yeah, he teaches people on Zoom and he's not famous and he lives in Canada and stuff. But in his own way, he is successful. He gets to put musician on his tax returns every year. And that's the thing. We need to normalize that more. It doesn't, you know, stop trying to race everyone else and just define what is success to you.
And not everyone can be known by large groups of people.
You don't have to sell out stadiums just to be successful.
No.
Exactly. That is our definition of success. and again, Daniela's right as well. And this is it, So for someone, success might be learning to play that song. You might have a song that you've wanted to play for 20 years, and no matter how much you learn, you've never felt good enough. The day you hit that song, you're successful. You may not have written that song, you may not be playing it at Wembley Stadium, but you're successful.
What's a good example is there's a band that a lot would consider successful, Gwar. They're very well known. They tour a lot. But from what I've read, Dave Brockie still lived in an apartment, or in a trailer, I should say. He was living in a trailer, and the reasoning why is because most of his money was spent to go back on the road. So even though he was a successful musician and he made money doing it, he wasn't making as much as people would assume.
Yeah. So is it really success?
Yeah.
Look at how Lemmy was living.
Lemmy lived the fast life. He was living in a trailer, wasn't he, when he died?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen Lemmy's last place that he was living in?
No.
Due to him living such a fast life and it being so expensive, he was living in like a little trailer.
Yeah. But again, if he was happy living like that, if he was happy living like that, then that's not unsuccessful.
No. And success is in your own mind.
Exactly. Success in your own mind. Now, don't get me wrong. There are quantifiable levels of success. If you're unemployed, living on the streets, then you could argue that is unsuccessful. You haven't been successful in life. But then those people are also going to have their own version of success. Mm-hmm. So to a homeless person who struggled to stay in employment and have a roof over their head, that first paycheck, and they go and sign on for their house, and they're finally living what we all consider a normal life, they've made it. That is success. Mm-hmm. And a stupid little one, I always think this is saying, I define success against, the only person I compete with is myself. I think, what would the past Dave want to do, and what will future Dave think of it? But so it's like, I've never toured on an arena level. I've never worked for a band like Alice Cooper or Justin Bieber or Katy Perry or Taylor Swift or any of those big sort of like arena level.
Let me interrupt you real quick. You went from Alice Cooper to Justin Bieber.
I'm just thinking about people who play arenas. I don't follow music now. But the point being, I've never worked in for a band that big and like gone all over the world on like luxury tour buses and whatnot. But when I was sat on in a small tour bus with Roxy one side of me and Eric Dover the other side, and we were all hanging out and talking and having a joke and stuff. When I thought back to when I was 15, watching those two guys do the Eyes of Alice Cooper show when Alice released that album, to me, I'd kind of made it. I didn't get a lot of money. I didn't go anywhere exotic. It was like clubs in England. But the fact is, the 15-year-old kid in my head said, I want to be involved with this somehow. And at some small level, I am. Mm-hmm. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not famous. I haven't got all of those, but I'm not driving a BMW. But I got to where I wanted to. I in my own way, I got to where I wanted to be. And another one is, again, going back to when I was 15, I went to my first Alice Cooper concert. If you'd have told me that 15 years later, I'd have been sat there with him hanging out, I ain't gonna tell the whole story because it was off duty. Nothing crazy happened, but it's private.
It was like the scene from Wayne's World.
No, it was
kind of a party or what?
I'll be honest with you. It was exactly the opposite. It was exactly the opposite. The shortened version is through him being just such a gracious person, I ended up hanging out on the bus with him one day. Not just Alice. I was there with Ryan and Kyle and that. But yeah. So yeah. But the point being, in my own little way, although I hadn't made any money, he probably doesn't remember who I am or anything like that. The fact is, from being young to where I was then, I texted my dad and said, "You'll never guess whose sofa I'm sat on." And it was just one of those things where it's like, success isn't always about money and stuff. It's about, did you achieve what you wanted to achieve? That's the nutshell. That's what this whole ramble's been about. Success is purely, did you achieve what you wanted to achieve? Now, if what you want to achieve is, I want to live in a house with a regular job and be able to pay my own bills and not have to ask for handouts, and I want a job where I get to wear a suit and tie. If you get that job, you're a success. You know, if your idea of success is, I want to start a bar band and I want to be booked up, so I'm playing in a different bar every Friday and Saturday, playing Sweet Home Alabama and stuff like that. If you start that band and within a year or two you end up with a full diary and you're playing a different bar every Friday night for $200, you have achieved what you set out to you achieved. Ergo, you are successful.
So have you, going back to Cooper, since you are a fan of Cooper's,
Yeah.
have you checked out the band Co-op yet?
No.
They have a new single out. Co-op is a band formed by Dash Cooper, Alice's son, and they're a really good band. I went and saw them a couple weeks ago with Tony.
Oh,
and
cool.
They're really good. They're really good.
I'll look them up.
You should check them out. Co-op, if you look it up on YouTube, you might have to type in Co-op band because there's video games and shit that pop up. The next question is from a guy. I know you're a huge fan of this guy, so try to keep your pants on for me. But this guy you've always wanted to meet, so here's a question from him.
Hey Dave, greetings from India. This is Kanak here and hope you're having a great time. Good to see you on Pink Sock today. I have two questions for you. First is, well, 2020 has been a challenging year for every one of us, and every one of us has tried to be creative or productive in some or the other way, which is absolutely fantastic and inspiring. And I want to know what are the lessons or things that you have learned from this year that you want to carry forward with you in your life. And second thing is, since you work at a guitar store, I'm sure you must have seen all kinds of customers. So would you like to share with us some funny customer stories? Take care, have fun.
That's cool. I think I kind of did the customer thing earlier.
Yes.
But I just love how positive he always is. Kanak is like, if ever I was like a millionaire and I started some sort of like artistic thing, like maybe a band or a film company or something, I would hire Kanak to be my full-time hype man. Just like he'd be the one who went on stage before I gave every speech just to get the crowd going, because he's just like such a happy guy. Yeah, it's funny that the whole 2020 thing. As I said to you earlier, Mike, I've got a new job coming up.
Yes.
I haven't left the guitar store yet, but we're locked down, so I'm not in the guitar store anyway. But I will be leaving in the next few weeks and starting somewhere else. And in the interview for that, one of the questions they asked was, 2020 was a very difficult year for everyone. What is the memory? What is the one thing you will think of whenever anyone says 2020 to you? What is the defining memory? And I actually said, the defining memory for me is the fact that me, Vic, Roxy, Robbie, Scotty, we all sat down and went, and then of course Federica got involved later. We all sat down and went, this is boring. We need to do something. We need to do something with this time. And that's when we started to come up with, and Ryan came up with the live stream Sundays, and we do the after show hangouts, and then we do in the trenches, and I do the videos like the Goon Squad and the mashup video with the Johnny Thunder song and the Black Widow video and stuff like that. And that's what I said. I said, you know, my memory of 2020 in a nutshell is when we were all forced to stay inside and the only thing left to us was the internet. So many of us, yourselves included, you guys are included in this, everyone in these comments, Kanak is a big one of them. We didn't sit at home and sulk. We all came out into the internet and we all met each other. And we've got this whole extended family. We've got Kanak in India. We've got you guys in Arizona at the moment. We've got, you know, Kath in the UK. We've got Funky. She's out there. All these people, all these names I've seen cropping up in chats for 12 months now. It's nearly 12 months since we started doing this. that is the defining memory of 2020. That's what I'll take away from 2020. The fact that we didn't let it beat us. I mean, I don't want to. We did exactly what Fedi's saying. And don't get me wrong, I totally respect that there are people out there who had a really difficult year. People have lost people have lost jobs, people have probably lost their home because of one of the other two things. And, for some people, this really hasn't been fun. This really hasn't been a good ride. And no matter how fortunate any of us are, we need to remember that, because, when someone's having a good time, there's always someone who isn't. And it's our job as a society to keep a lookout for, our people, our brothers and
one another.
Exactly. But my own personal experience of System 12, we did System 12. My own personal experience of the pandemic, and the thing I will take away is this sense of community that we all kind of just came together from nowhere, that we're still doing now. But to answer his specific question about what skills, well, the video stuff, I actually hadn't done video stuff for a few years when Goon Squad video came up. And I tell you, actually, it was actually the System 12 pitch video. Ryan sent me it, and I said, can I just have a quick go with this and have a mess? Because I still had some skills in the back of my head from years ago. And I whipped the thing together, and he was like, oh, I really like that. It's kind of cool. And I was like, thanks, man. It's been a while. And then from there, I just started playing and experimenting. And now I find that not only have I kind of regained all the knowledge I used to have years ago about video editing, I'm now learning newer things and newer things and newer things. So I'm actually better than I was the first time round. So I think as an actual learning experience, I think the video and graphic stuff, whilst I was doing it before the pandemic, I've certainly stepped up my game like 2 or 3 levels during the pandemic. That's the kind of the big development I've had. I've also been studying. So my new job is in marketing. I've always kind of done events, promotions, things like that on the side. One of the things I did for Ryan is I booked him clinics and promoted those. I talked with the Lost Angels as an assistant, helping them organize things. I've always kind of been on the fringes of marketing and promotions. So during the pandemic, I signed up for a course, and I've been studying. I'm still studying. I haven't finished yet. But kind of doing that is probably a lot of the reason I've been considered for this other job that I'm now going to. So that's what I did with my pandemic mechanic. There are new things I learned. I studied marketing to get a bit more of a hold on all of my various tatters of experience and bring them all together as one thing. And I also really upped my game with graphic video and graphic design. And yeah, the Uh-Oh song, thank you. I'm really glad you like that, because that one was literally my entire idea. I just said to Ryan, can you film yourself in front of a wall with four different guitars and send me the stuff, because I want to make a video? And he was like, yeah, okay. and I came out. And also I have to say, oh, you're very welcome, Kanak. Thank you for asking me. It was a great question. I have to say the Uh-Oh video would not have been possible without Suzanne Burkholder, Federica, Keena sent me some stuff as well. And basically, because the live shots I had were all very samey, because they were all from like the same couple of things. Whereas through those guys, they sent me some great video clips from throughout the last few years that I could use. So I have to thank them as well.
It's awesome. But yeah, it's going to be weird in the future, because we're going to all be like, yeah, remember like 40 years ago when we had a pandemic, and like telling little kids and shit about it.
Yeah, I thought that. It's like, there's going to come a point where some kid asks me, like, Uncle Dave, what was the pandemic like? You were there, weren't you? And I was like, oh my God. And I'm going to be like, wow, I'm old.
Could you imagine?
I was sitting there thinking through the whole pandemic. I was like, man, this is going to make for a wild future U.S. history book.
What's going to be crazy, though, what's really crazy is imagine if we was going through this pandemic before we had technology. Like, shit, Blockbuster's closed. Now what are we going to do?
Well, what's crazy, I'm just going to answer Jackie quickly. Not at the moment, but hopefully it will happen again. So, I think me and Ryan will probably do another video at some point, but there's not currently something to make a video for. because like imagine your reality's finished now and things like that. So, you know, but he knows where I am, and hopefully he'll keep me involved, part of the RGA. But to answer your question, Mike, what was kind of interesting about this pandemic and working in a guitar store? Well, we're not a guitar store; we sell everything. So, home recording stuff and starter packs of guitars and basses and all that just vanished straight away. We sold so many, it's ridiculous. So I think it genuinely would have been a problem. I mean, you made the joke about, oh my God, Blockbuster's shut. What do we do? Could you imagine if we lived in a pre-internet world and you couldn't just order a new hobby kit from Amazon to keep you like? Imagine if I couldn't order Lego to keep me occupied, or imagine if people like the System 12 guys we've got, there it is. If the System 12 guys couldn't have ordered their guitars to pick up a guitar and play, you know, could you imagine? But then, interestingly, we're looking at it through 2021 eyes. You have to remember that the people who lived in that era didn't know any better. They didn't know any different. So to them, it would have been perfectly normal.
Yeah.
It's only through our experience would it seem weird.
So I have one more video question, but before I get to that, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to check out all other videos. Don't forget to check out Beautiful Puppies, because that's what Kath likes to show. And also don't forget to tune in on the 5th. We have AC Slade. And then on the 12th, we have Lynn Ruth Miller.
Awesome.
We have been talking with the Ratt. He's the infamous Ratt.
I would like to say as well, I would like to thank everyone. We are at the 2-hour, 5-minute mark. I can't believe there are people who have sat and watched me and Robbie for 2 hours. Like,
we're gonna have to break this into a part here. I have one more video question, and then we're gonna wrap it up. But I would love to have you back to discuss even more stuff.
Yeah.
Check out the Ratt on Davey Rocks on Instagram or davidratt.com. Is there any other socials you use? Because that's the only one I've seen you on.
Not really. I mean, I have Facebook, obviously. I only really use Instagram. I do have Twitter, TikTok, and everything, but I've only signed up for them to claim the username, so no one else can have the username.
And be honest, you go on
active.
TikTok to watch them skateboarders and stuff.
No, I actually, other than signing up for the account so no one else could have at Davey Rocks, I've never been on TikTok at all.
You're lucky, because I was about ready to steal that name.
Nick.
But here's the last question from Joe Bashir.
Oh, cool.
My question for Dave. If you won the lottery, what's the first guitar you'd go out and buy? Or do you already own
it? 3 pickup Gibson SG Custom in white, like Glenn Buxton.
I thought you were going to...
Is this the one with the vibrola?
I don't know. I think it looks cool with a vibrola, but they're just not very practical. In fact, no, do you know what? I've won the lottery. I'll have one of each.
I thought you were going to...
Gibsons don't stay in tune anyway, so, you know.
Oh, see, I'm definitely a Gibson guy. I mean, I was showing...
So am I, but I'm just realistic.
A lot of guys, a lot of people in the comments will have seen this before. This is a 2016, it's a 1957 replica from the custom shop, and this is the one I play most. But yeah, I have like 4 Gibsons. I mean, my dream guitar is always going to be the Gibson Les Paul, and I have 2 of those, possibly a third coming. But I do like SGs. SGs are more comfortable to play. If you said to me, Joe, I could only have 1 guitar, it would be a Les Paul. But as I've already got a couple of really nice Les Pauls, the guitar I would buy if I won the lottery would be a 3 pickup SG, like Glenn Buxton.
If Robbie was here, he would ask the question, how much was the lottery?
Yeah, he would. He'd be like, yeah, well, how much was it though? You know, I don't think I'd buy anything vintage. Like a common thing amongst guitar people is, oh yeah, I'd buy a 1959 Les Paul for like $200,000, and I'd be like, yeah, or I could buy like 10 replicas for 20. Well, I could buy 10 replicas for $50,000 and then have $150,000 in the bank.
Yeah,
that's yeah. So The only guitar I've actually seeked out because of its age was my '89 Les Paul Standard. It's Gibson Les Paul. That one is literally about 3 weeks older than me. So I was looking for a Gibson Les Paul that was as close to my birthday as possible, and that one's 17th of January, and I have 24th of February. So that one I've got an older one because of the year is meaningful. But if I was to go and buy another Les Paul now, I would go just based on what the guitar is and how it feels. I wouldn't really be focused on how old or new it was, you know.
I thought you was going to say you're going to end up with that David Gilmour one that went for like $4 million.
I must admit, if I was like Mark Zuckerberg level rich or Elon Musk or that, I would totally go for that. Just to have it, just to go like,
you have fucking money to do that.
And then you
exactly, you gotta have
because that's totally fucking money.
Then you got to meet David Gilmour and have him sign it.
Like I would love to have an actual 58 Flying V, but I'm not paying that money.
But we're approaching.
Yeah, you would need effort money for a 58 Flying V because there aren't many left. There really aren't many left.
They're pretty much all spoken for, I'm pretty sure.
So we're approaching the 2 hour and 10-minute mark, so I think it's about time to wrap it up.
Hey, don't ever claim you don't get your money's worth from me when you book me.
Wait, we're getting paid?
Yeah, what's that? I certainly haven't made any money in this pandemic, I'll tell you that. But hey, I've had a great time. And thank you, Anders, for watching. And thank you, thanks everyone. I can't believe how all these people must have been here to watch you, right? Not me.
I don't know. Normally they don't stick around this long.
Wow.
Trying to boost your confidence there, buddy.
Oh, my confidence is fine. I just think it's crazy. I just don't get me wrong. I think I'm great, but there's no reason why anyone else should. You know what I mean? It's like that's the difference between confidence and arrogance. Confidence is you knowing you're great. Arrogance is expecting everyone to think you're great.
Right.
2 hours is bad. I'm still convinced no one actually watches those 4 hour long Rogan podcasts.
Yeah, Joe Rogan. Do you watch all his podcasts?
I don't watch any Joe Rogan, but I know a man who is a big fan of those podcasts. So I hear about them sometimes.
I have to watch them in parts because they're like 4 to 5 hours long. But we have on the 5th, as I said, AC Slade.
It's going to be a good episode.
We also have Lynn Ruth Miller. You going to be tuning in for those episodes?
I will try. I mean, it depends because with my new job, I will be able to work from home. So I guess when I actually, although I suppose if I'm working from home, I could have it on. This is all new to me. This is all new. I've always worked in a store. So,
Oh, your new job's going to be at home?
No, it's going to be in an office. But of course, with the restrictions, a lot of office workers are asked to work from home at the moment and do it via Zoom. So when the pandemic's lifted, I will be in an office. And I actually have to do a little bit of local traveling and visiting.
Hey,
businesses.
once the pandemic lifts or regulations lift, if I'm still out here, you need to come to Vegas with us.
Yeah, I went to Vegas a few years ago because a friend of mine, I don't know if some of you guys will probably know him if you into rock music. It's a guitar player called Kerry Kelly.
Yeah, played for Alice.
Yeah, he played for Alice for a while. He's now in a band called Night Ranger. Me and my wife went to Vegas, and we went to his bar, and he was actually doing a Night Ranger gig in Hawaii that night because we just couldn't. Like, I booked the trip, and then he booked the tour, and of course, he's not going to not go to work. So he just kind of like sent a text to me saying, "I'm really sorry, I won't be there," but. He was cool. He was really cool. He bought me a meal and stuff like that. And but anyway, so I went to Vegas a few years ago to visit his bar. And while I was there, I had a little bit of a look around. But the thing is, whilst I'll happily come and hang out, just bear in mind, I don't drink alcohol. I don't take drugs. I don't have enough money to gamble, and I'm married. So there's really not a lot in Vegas for me.
You're starting to sound like Ozzy nowadays. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I'm pretty boring now.
Yeah. But, oh no! It's the thing. That's
then you got to end it with like, why am I still alive?
That's the other thing. I definitely don't sound like Ozzy because you understood everything I said.
Yes. Well, I was always told that the reason why Aussie talks like that is because he's from Birmingham, but you prove that's false.
Well, I'm not from Birmingham. I'm not from Birmingham. I lived there. Well, I don't now, but I've been living there for the last few years. But I'm not from there. I'm from further east.
So do people that live? Let's break this myth right now. Do people that's from Birmingham talk like Aussie?
To an extent. I mean, his is very emphasized because he's so like spaced. But his accent is a Birmingham accent, but it's a very muddled Birmingham accent.
Because I've always been told that people from Birmingham talk like that, like with the stutter and everything.
No, not the stutter, but the general like shape of the words and stuff like that is very Birmingham. I'm trying to think of another celebrity who has like a more Birmingham accent, but just Google it. Just Google Birmingham accent and see what one is.
Yeah,
Iomi's got quite a soft Birmingham accent. Yeah, it's definitely a Birmingham, but it's not quite as harsh as a
Geezer Butler.
Geezer Butler probably has. Yeah,
his is like not as bad. But it was nice talking to you, Dave.
Yeah, it's been great being here. Thanks for having me, especially for so long.
We need to bring you back on, but damn, every time we talk, we go like we're going for the record. It was nice talking to you.
I didn't even announce the thing I was going to announce today. That's the crazy thing.
Announce it.
This is kind of a semi-announcement. Me and Scotty Hagen, who some of you will know as Bellacci Records, Bellyache Records, we are currently working on doing a podcast.
Oh, nice. Join us. Join our world.
Well, that's the thing, and because we both kind of enjoy them, but it took us a long time to work out what we'd even do a podcast on, because there's already so many good podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to just do the same as everyone else. Like, I don't want to do a rock interviews podcast because Ryan does that and he does that really well.
Mm-hmm.
Voice It Show are doing that. They're doing it really well. There's so many people out there. So me and Scotty got talking one night and we both said there's something we'd like to be involved in a podcast, but we couldn't think of a reason. And then we talked a bit more and a bit more and a bit more, and we have decided. So it's definitely on the cards. It's definitely on the cards. I can't say when we'll start because we don't know yet, but we're hoping maybe end of April.
You're gonna have to do something like, because he works at a record shop, you worked at a guitar shop. You're gonna have to tell stories from the shop.
His record shop is also guitars as well. But basically, I can tell you what it is. It's going to be basically pop culture. So I've just made Scotty watch all of The Walking Dead that he's missed, so we can talk about that. Talking about like Mandalorian. It's basically going to be nerd stuff, just nerd stuff. So, collectibles.
Well, if you ever want to nerd, if you ever want a guest on there to nerd out with,
yeah, I'm already ahead of you, man. You're on the list. So one of the things we want to do is we're not going to have guests in the sense that we book celebrity guests to interview them,
just friends.
But we do want to have people on to just join the panel and just commentate with us. So, so you are actually one of the people I thought we should get Mike on for yeah, exactly. So when we do, because we're going to do loads of Star Wars, when we do a Star Wars discussion, maybe you come on,
Yep. I'm loaded. I am an angry little nerd when it comes to Star Wars, especially like what Disney did. Okay, I can go on a huge discussion, but I'm just gonna shorten it.
One thing is we are going to try and keep it positive. Not that you can't criticize, because trust me, we will. But when it gets to the point where no one's having fun and it's just like a rant, it's like,
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Let's keep
But I just don't get why Disney, when they bought it, they said nothing's canon anymore. Like,
yeah, I'm a big extended universe fan. To be honest, I'm getting the hook as well. So,
okay.
but yeah, I'm a big extended universe fan. So, but from a business point of view, I totally get why they did it. So I'll live, and them doing that whole thing and making it all not canon. It doesn't erase those things. I've still got all the books on my bookshelf. I can still disappear into that world whenever I want. I just,
Well, here's something I'm going to leave you at, because I think you would appreciate this little hindsight. Disney claims this isn't canon, but there was a comic book that came out before Rise of Skywalker that Disney approved on, where it pretty much said that Palpatine is Palpatine is Anakin's father, which would mean that kiss between Kylo Ren and Rey was yet another ancestral kiss.
I've seen the panel you mean where he's like, because he's not technically Anakin's father. The whole idea is that he manipulated the Force around Shmi Skywalker to make her pregnant.
Yeah.
So, father in the loosest sense.
Yeah, it's just weird. But it was nice talking to you. Go get food, because we're going to get food too.
That's like father in the biblical sense.
Father in the biblical sense.
In the Zeus sense.
Well, Star Wars has a lot of biblical stuff and politics and. But it was nice talking to you. We're going to get some food. You get some food. Send me a message later if you're around.
Yeah, man.
It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
Remember, live long, rock hard. It was nice talking to you. Have a good day, buddy.